Chapter 738. This chaos was far more serious than Jiangchen had imagined. Two powerful figures from the Taoist race and the Buddhist race had died. Before that, the 6 successors of the Buddhist race's Supreme Buddha and Xian Qing's 4 heirs had all been killed. And all of this was just the tip of the iceberg in this turmoil. Many people had died. Some had been assassinated, some had been framed, and some had died without any news. Jiangchen was silent. There was a stifling feeling in his heart that he couldn't vent. They were all people of the 6 realms. Why did they have to fight among themselves? Why did they have to betray them? The Eternal City hadn't been breached yet. Was there no hope of defeating the foreign realm? What were the Yuan and Lu clans thinking? Abandoning the 6 realms and letting their descendants join the foreign realm as slaves and dogs? Was this really what they wanted? Now, a great purge was underway. The Yuan and Lu clans would definitely be destroyed, and none of their heirs would be left behind. Do we really have to kill them all? Jiangchen asked. If we don't kill them all, more of us will die. The man sighed. It's cruel and inhumane, but you have to know that our blood-stained hands are protecting the 6 realms behind us. None of them can be left alive? Jiangchen asked again. Leaving one alive is letting the tiger return to the mountain, the man said. Do you think the main battlefield of the Great Purge is here? The real main battlefield is at the front line. The great saints are there to stop the foreign experts who came to support the Yuan and Lu clans. The battle there is probably going to be earth-shattering. Even a few great saints will die. Even the great saints are taking action? Jiangchen exclaimed in disbelief. In Jiangchen's impression, the great saints had always been the ones who gave orders. They wouldn't take action easily, unless it was related to the survival of the Eternal City and the 6 realms. Now you should understand how messy this matter is and how big it is, the man said. You can decide for yourself whether to take action or choose the so-called mercy. I'll think about it. Jiangchen frowned. Jiangchen had never been an indecisive person, but he wasn't cold-blooded. He was still made of flesh and blood. Jiangchen really couldn't bear to slaughter the people of the Yuan clan and the Lu clan, the old, the weak, the sick and the disabled. But there's nothing to see here. As long as the foreign experts don't enter Eternal City, the experts of the Yuan and Lu clans will have no chance of survival. The man said. You can leave now. I brought you here to let you know how cruel this world is. Many people are doing things they don't like. Where am I going? Jiangchen asked. He was at a loss for a moment. Go where you should go, the man said, patting Jiangchen's shoulder. My name is Xian Baoan, father's 2nd son. You. Jiangchen opened his mouth. Only now did he know the identity of the man in front of him. But so what? Jiangchen was silent for a while before he finally left. He was absent-minded and depressed as he walked aimlessly within the Eternal Fortress. Until half a day later, there was a sudden explosion in the distant sky. Looking carefully, it was the mountain gate of the Carefree clan. At the mountain gate, there were many people of the Yuan clan gathered. The mountain gate of the Carefree clan was broken through, and a strong smell of blood assailed the nostrils. Jiangchen hurriedly rushed over. Before he got close, he heard the people of the Yuan clan talking. The 6 realms will be destroyed in the end. Submitting to the foreign realm is the most honorable choice. Our Yuan clan is destined to rise and be conferred the title of king and marquis in the foreign realm. Hearing these words, Jiangchen was stunned on the spot. He didn't react for a long time. Could it be that the Yuan clan was really hopeless? They didn't want to turn back? Even the lower true gods have moved out? After a few breaths, when Jiangchen arrived at the mountain gate of the Carefree clan, he actually saw a lower true god of the Yuan clan. He was only in his teens, the same age as Jiangchen when he first awakened. And now, his hands were covered in blood, and there was a girl of the Carefree clan under his feet. That girl was only 10 years old and hadn't even become a true god, but she was killed by this Yuan clan youth. Does everyone in the Yuan clan think this way? Are they all like you? Jiangchen came to the side of the Luan clan youth and asked faintly, "Have your hearts changed? Have you become cold-blooded?" "Jiangchen!" the youth exclaimed and hurriedly retreated. At the same time, he shouted into the distance, "Jiangchen is here. He, looks like I don't need you to answer anything. Your attitude and your actions have already made me understand everything." Jiangchen sighed softly. "One!" As soon as his voice fell, Jiangchen waved his palm. The palm print was like a bolt of lightning, directly turning the youth into dust. Then, Jiangchen charged towards the Luan clan. His body flickered with light and the power of the earth erupted. Punch after punch, Jiangchen used his strongest strength and swept through everything in his path. True gods, heavenly gods, and even Xian gods couldn't block Jiangchen's punch. When he arrived at the square of the Carefree clan, he saw a youth being surrounded by a group of Luan clan elders. "This person is the son of Marquis Xiaoyao. Capture him and force Marquis Xiaoyao to submit," a Luan clan elder said. "My father once said that the Carefree clan is born to be kings, never bandits." The son of Marquis Xiaoyao roared, but there was a sense of arrogance in his voice. Before the Luan clan could do anything, he chose to self-destruct. His essence, qi, and soul exploded, and even his spiritual soul turned into dust. "You traitors want to destroy the Carefree clan while the elites of my clan are not around? How dare you! Do you know the status of the Carefree clan? Even the Taoist clan and the Buddhist clan have to be courteous to us. Today, the Luan clan has gone too far." A few elites of the Carefree clan shouted angrily, but they were already covered in wounds. They protected the sons of the Carefree clan, and purple gas rose from their bodies as they defended the main hall. Inside the main hall were all the people of the Carefree clan. "What's too far? It won't be long before the entire 6 realms are destroyed. The Carefree clan is just one step ahead," an elder of the Luan clan said coldly. He looked at the experts of the Carefree clan and said disdainfully, "The Carefree Marquis is not here, the Carefree Baijiang is not here, and the Carefree Qingzhen is not here. The Carefree clan is at its weakest right now. Kill them all. Don't leave a single one alive. Kill them all." Jiangchen, who was not far away, witnessed everything. His heart was cold, and his eyes were bloodshot. "Xianhuan is right. These people should be killed," Jiangchen said softly. However, with Jiangchen's current cultivation, how could he protect the Carefree clan? He was helpless, but he still took action. They saw Jiangchen walking toward the Carefree clan's main hall step by step, while murmuring, "I've just become the Everlasting Hall's leader, yet I haven't even warmed my seat yet. Am I going to die? I don't want to retreat, but I don't want to die either." Jiangchen had already arrived in front of the main hall. Chapter 739. In front of him was a group of experts from the Luan clan. Behind him were the experts of the Carefree clan who were riddled with scars, as well as the group of Carefree clan members in the main hall. "What are you doing here? With this bit of cultivation, are you here to die? Jiangchen? Get lost! My Carefree clan does not need help." The people of the Carefree clan were shocked, but their attitude was still very high. Just as they said, the Carefree clan was born to be kings. The corners of Jiangchen's mouth rose slightly, and he chuckled. "Is this showing concern for me? A lot of blood is destined to be shed in this battle. You shouldn't have come," the elder of the Carefree clan said in a low voice. "Go to the main hall. As long as we don't die, they can forget about entering the main hall. Since you're here, then let the heavens decide your life and death," Jiangchen said softly. When his voice fell, Jiangchen looked at the people of the Luan clan and said in a low voice, "For the sake of the 6 realms, our ancestors died on the battlefield. How many were buried in foreign lands, dying without a place to be buried? Your descendants have sacrificed the blood and sweat of your ancestors, betraying the 6 realms. You deserve death. Jiangchen, who do you think you are? So what if you were Tianqing in your previous life? In this life, you're nothing more than a deity. We can destroy you with a single finger. You can be considered a hidden danger. Today, we'll kill you and get rid of a future threat for the other side. We'll take your head and exchange it for our contributions. When the time comes, the other side will be conferred the title of King and Marquis. Hearing the words of the Luan clan, Jiang Chen's heart became completely cold. There was no turning back, and the Luan clan did not want to turn back. You all are destined to be destroyed, Jiang Chen said softly. His body flickered, divine power surged, and talismans and formation patterns rose around him. Jiang Chen knew very well that with his cultivation, he was not this person's opponent at all. Only by using formations could he have the strength to fight. You still want to set up formations? Do you think we are decorations? An elder of the Luan clan shouted coldly, and a large hand descended like a sky curtain. The stars spun in the palm, and the brilliant sun lost its luster. Jiang Chen felt helpless. He could do nothing but watch the palm strike falling toward him. At this moment, Jiang's heart also died. He knew that he could not avoid this palm, nor did he have the ability to resist this palm. However, it was just as he had said. Since he had seen what had happened today, and since he had come, he would not leave. Today, his life and death is up to the heavens. Ha! Of his of God, his of his of his of divine his. His of his of his with his of his of his of his of his. Of thereof with of his of thereof of there of there of there of there. At the same time, the token of the keeper of the eternal hall in Jiang Chen's chest was shining, as if a space-time tunnel had been opened. What kind of power is this? Jiang Chen was shocked. He raised his palm involuntarily and threw it over his head. Boom! With a loud explosion, the Luan clan member's hand was blown away. There was an ear-piercing sound like two bolts of lightning colliding. Jiang Chen was completely unscathed. Even the runes of the great Tao within his body began to burn. The surging power sent the Luan clan elder flying. At this moment, Jiang Chen was dumbfounded. The other party was a master god, while Jiang Chen was merely a lesser heavenly deity. A lesser heavenly god had repelled a master god with a single palm strike. Could it be that this wasn't a dream? It's true. Did old Seer really pass on the position of everlasting hall to you? This is the ancient order. Behind him, the people of the Xiaoyao clan cried out in surprise. Staring at the token in Jiang Chen's arms, they were both excited and surprised. Is it the power of this token? Jiang Chen asked. The Aeon token can use the power left behind by our ancestors in the Aeon Hall. That was a group of supreme experts who had died on the front lines. They left a portion of their power in the token in the Aeon Hall. Only this Aeon token can use that power. The Aeon Hall carries the dreams and hopes of eternity. It is the place where the will of our ancestors lies. When Jiang Chen heard this, he could not help but feel relieved. No wonder the Aeon Hall's status was so special. So that was the case. So what if it's the Aeon token? We have so many masters, and you think a mere Aeon token can suppress us? Today, we will first destroy the Xiaoyao clan, then the Xian clan and the Desolate clan. Perhaps after today, even the Dao clan and the Buddhist clan will no longer exist. After this battle, the 6 realms will no longer exist. Only the foreign realm will reign supreme. At this moment, a group of experts from the Luan clan attacked. Each of them was a master god. The wind and clouds surged, and the sky changed color. The power of a master god erupted like dozens of volcanoes. The surging power soared into the sky, tearing the void apart. Jiang Chen had a strange expression. He had forgotten how long it had been since he last fought with a master god. Thinking back, the last battle back then was with the strongest 36 masters of the 9 heavens divine world. Is this Aeon token powerful? Jiang Chen suddenly asked. I'm not sure. Old Xia has never used the Aeon token. The elder of the Xiaoyao clan shook his head, but he told Jiang Chen with certainty that the Aeon token was very strong. It's fine as long as it's very strong. Jiang Chen narrowed his eyes. When he took a step forward, his palm pressed down on the void. The palm print was vast and mighty, like a mountain range falling, carrying with it an inextinguishable flame and a purple-gold radiance. There was also a sword beam shooting out from between Jiang Chen's eyebrows. With the support of the Aeon token, the palm pushed out and sent the Yuan clan masters flying. Immediately after, the sword beam arrived and directly slashed one of them. Even his soul was cut in half, and then it collapsed. "It makes me feel like I've returned to my previous life," Jiang Chen whispered. "Wasn't this power the power of a God King?" "God King! The Aeon token can summon such power!" The Yuan clan people were terrified. They were all masters. How could they fight against a God King? "Previously, I was thinking if I killed all of you, wouldn't it be too bloody and inhumane? But now it seems that killing all of you won't be enough to vent my hatred," Jiang Chen said coldly. As his voice fell, a green lamp appeared above his head. The lamp burned leisurely. As Jiang Chen stretched out his palm, a green sword beam condensed. "Myriad transformation heavenly lamp!" With a soft shout, the sword beam burst forth as if it was going to cut open this ancient era. Under the sword, explosions rang out continuously, dust flew everywhere, and there were even screams. After a dozen breaths, everything dissipated and the dust settled. At this moment, everyone looked in front of them and saw that the mountain gate of the Xiaoyao clan had been razed to the ground. The huge Xiaoyao clan was only left with a building behind Jiang Chen. Everything in front of him had disappeared, including the Yuan clan people. "One sword, all gone! One sword to destroy the world!" The Xiaoyao clan people were moved. Just how much power was contained in the Aeon token? This power was simply a great killing machine. Chapter 740. It was only then that Jiang Chen understood why the Everlasting Hall was so special. With such power, the Everlasting Hall could indeed run amok and intimidate the whole Eternal City. However, at this moment, Jiang Chen's expression changed drastically. This was because the power in his body was actually controlling his body. "Everyone, let me ask you something." Jiang Chen had a strange expression. "Will the power in the Everlasting Hall control my body? It's happened before, hasn't it?" "It hasn't," said an elder of the Carefree clan. However, just as he finished speaking, Jiang Chen had already disappeared from where he was. At this moment, Jiang Chen was alarmed. His body wasn't listening to him. It tore through the void and rushed out of the Eternal City. He rushed all the way like a shooting star. In a few breaths' time, he actually rushed out of the human battlefield and out of the spirit battlefield. Finally, he crossed several major battlefields and arrived at the front line. This was a chief god-level battlefield. "Oh my God!" Jiang Chen's face was ghastly pale. The power in his body seemed to have a mind of its own as it controlled his body and actually came to the chief god-level battlefield. It wasn't over yet. In a few breaths' time, Jiang Chen came to a plain that looked like it had been soaked in blood. As far as the eye could see, the place was full of potholes. Divine substances were left everywhere, and there were even broken limbs. There were even some chief god-level corpses. Is this the center of the battlefield? Jiang Chen was alarmed. What was this power in his body trying to do? What was its purpose in bringing him here? Boom! Boom! At this moment, a series of explosions came from the sky. Terrifying power fluctuations spread out wantonly like waves, tearing the space in this area apart. This is a God-King level battle? Jiang Chen's body wasn't listening to him. He rose into the air and arrived in the air in an instant. It was a stretch of the void that had been torn apart. It was pitch black inside, but there were several rays of light flickering and colliding. That was a fierce battle between God-King level people. Upon closer inspection, Jiang Chen saw a white-haired old man dressed in a Taoist robe. He looked like an immortal. He was currently engaged in an intense battle with a six-winged creature. Both parties were evenly matched, and both of them were heavily injured. On the other side, a large bald man wielding a large earthen yellow axe was currently fighting fiercely with a foreign creature with a tiger head. In the distance, there were still a few people in the midst of an intense battle. Is this a battle between a great saint and a foreign king? Jiang Chun was shocked. He looked at the six-winged creature and confirmed that it was definitely a king. This should be the six-winged king, right? Jiang Chun mumbled. Jiang Chun? Tian Qing. Right now, the foreign kings noticed Jiang Chen. All of them moved, even more so full of doubt. How did a lower heavenly deity get here? Why did he come here? Were they here to die? There are no rules on the battlefield today. Tianqing's reincarnation? The successor of the 9 deaths supreme god? You will die today. The six-winged king and the sky tiger king said coldly. They each struck out with a palm, and terrifying power erupted like a tsunami. Jiang Chen's face darkened. This kind of battle was not something he could participate in. However, even though he wanted to leave, his body did not listen to him. The next moment, Jiang Chen pushed out with both fists, shattering those 2 palm prints. Immediately after, Jiang Chen charged backward, his hands forming an unknown seal. What is this? Jiang Chen was confused. He had never learned these seals before. He also did not know what would happen after these seals were formed. He was confused, knowing that this was the Eternal Token's doing. This is the Heavenly Seal. Heavenly Venerable? The six-winged king cried out in surprise. He recognized this seal. It was the ultimate technique of a peerless powerhouse in prehistory. However, that powerhouse had already died in battle many years ago, and he did not have a successor. This brat, his memories have recovered and returned? The Sky Tiger King was shocked. If the former Tianqing returned, this matter would be serious. Back then, Tianqing's name intimidated the entire foreign realm. If not for the little accident that happened back then and Tianqing died, the foreign realm probably would not have dared to attack Eternal City. Tianqing, you've returned? Another foreign king cried out in surprise. In a moment of distraction, he was hit in the chest by a great saint from Eternal City, and his whole person flew out. Blood was like star sand, scattering all over the void, like a star chart in the dark night. What should I say? Jiang Chen laughed bitterly in his heart. The current him was completely out of control. This was a group of foreign kings, powerful beings who could fight against great saints. Although he had the Eternal Token's power, it was still very difficult for him to contend with the foreign kings. However, Jiang Chen's physical body did not listen to him, and he could not retreat at all. Boom! The next moment, Jiang Chen rushed in front of the Sky Tiger King, forming a heavenly seal in his hand. Then, a rain of light scattered down. The rain of light turned into a jade seal that hung upside down, pressing down on the Sky Tiger King's head. Who exactly are you? Are you the reincarnation of Tianqing, or the successor of the 9 deaths deity? Or, are you the Heavenly Venerable? You didn't die? The Sky Tiger King was shocked, and under his roar, the tiger's roar shook the void. Waves of sound waves spread out, and that jade seal was shattered. Then, the Sky Tiger King took a few steps back, and a bronze spear appeared in his hand. He pointed at Jiang Chen and said, Heavenly Venerable, I could kill you in the past, and I can still kill you now. Sky Tiger! Wait a minute! There's something wrong with this kid! The six-winged king said in a low voice. F***CK. Could this power in my body have originated from the Heavenly Venerable? Controlling my physical body and bringing me here because he sensed the Sky Tiger King's aura and came to take revenge? Jiang Chen thought to himself, his heart turning cold. Just as the Sky Tiger King said, he could kill the Heavenly Venerable in the past, so he could still do it now. Moreover, what was in Jiang Chen's body now was only a portion of the power left behind by the Heavenly Venerable. In this way, he was even less of a match for the Sky Tiger King. This is killing me! Jiang Chen was in great pain. He wanted to withdraw this power, but the Aeon Token did not react at all. Aeon Token! This Hurry up and send him away! The great saints saw Jiang Chen's situation at a glance, but they were entangled by their opponents and could not help Jiang Chen at all. Moreover, they felt an extremely terrifying aura appear in the direction of the foreign realm. It should be some ancient ancestor awakening. They had no time to care about Jiang Chen. Not only did they have to fight fiercely with the foreign realm's kings, but they also had to be wary of some ancient ancestor. Dark Mystic Seal! Heavenly Feather Sword Technique! Suddenly, the foreign realm's kings were dumbfounded. After Jiang Chen fought with the Sky Tiger King, he actually used many long-lost supreme divine skills in succession. And these divine skills were the divine skills of the great saints who had died in battle and did not have any successors. Chapter 741. Jiang Chen used a bunch of long-lost divine techniques and even Tao techniques. Like stars twinkling, the auras of the various great ancestors appeared, intimidating all the foreign kings. However, after half an hour, these foreign kings calmed down a lot, and some even sneered. So it's the ancient token. The six-winged king raised his eyebrows and mocked. This kind of power can deal with others, but against us, it's courting death. I thought it was really the return of those old farts. The Sky Tiger King heaved a sigh of relief, thinking that there was going to be a bloody battle today. The other foreign kings were the same, all of them revealing killing intent. Sky Tiger, I'll leave this brat to you. Quickly finish him off. The six-winged king said. We'll kill these great saints first, then destroy the Eternal City. Kill! At this moment, the Sky Tiger King let loose, fearless of Jiang Chen, because he knew that Jiang Chen's power came from the ancient token. The ancient token's power was very strong, but to the foreign kings, it was not a threat at all. Previously, they did not dare to make a big move because they were suspicious. Now that everything was clear, the Sky Tiger King had nothing to worry about. A bronze spear pierced through the void, carrying with it green lightning, and directly bombarded Jiang Chen's body. Boom! With a loud explosion, the divine power covering Jiang Chen's body was shattered, and even cracks appeared on his physical body. His soul shook violently, and it flickered with flickering light as if it was about to be destroyed. Jiang Chen felt bitter. Until now, his physical body still did not listen to him, and he could not leave this place at all. Old monk, you're harming me by passing on your mantle. Jiang Chen smiled bitterly. Now that things had come to this, it seemed like he could only wait for death. Of course, if he could control his own body, Jiang Chen might still have a chance of survival, or at least he could use the forbidden technique. But now, there was probably no hope. Boom! Boom! After a few breaths of time, Jiang Chen was struck by the Heavenly Tiger King. The bronze spear nailed him to the ground. Blood sprinkled out, flickering with divine light. Jiang Chen's life aura was getting weaker and weaker, and the luster of his soul had already dimmed. He was on the verge of death. I didn't think that this life would end just like this. Jiang Chen sighed. Even in death, he still couldn't control his own body. This was too depressing. You overestimate yourself. Do you think you can fight against me, a king, just because you have the ancient token? Too childish. The Sky Tiger Monarch said disdainfully. A ray of light in his hand turned into a spear and pierced towards Jiang Chen's glabella. If he was struck, Jiang Chen would die without a doubt. He wouldn't even have the chance to enter the cycle of reincarnation. At the same time, in the other side's direction, an extremely terrifying aura that made even the heavens tremble appeared. At this moment, the master gods above the ninth firmament divine world were trembling in fear. This is the aura of a foreign ancient ancestor. What happened in the Eternal Fortress? Has it reached the point of life and death? The master god of light was in seclusion, but he suddenly opened his eyes. He stared at the void as if he wanted to see through everything. On the other side, the martial god was also using a secret technique to see the Eternal Fortress. On the godless continent, Taoist Heaven Span and the human emperor's expressions were grave. They also felt the suffocating aura. Under this aura, 10,000 worlds were trembling. The ninth ancient ancestor has awakened. The eternal fortress can't hold on any longer. Taoist Heavenspan sighed. He didn't expect this day to come so quickly. The ancient ancestors were the most powerful creatures in the other side. They established the other side and passed down their knowledge. They were the pioneers of the other side. At the peak of their glory, there were over 100 ancient ancestors, but after a few battles, only 9 of them were left. However, these 9 were the strongest. Since the last 6 realms' great war, these 9 ancient ancestors had fallen into a deep sleep. They originally thought that they would only wake up after a few more eras, but they didn't expect the 9th ancient ancestor to wake up so quickly. If the 9 ancient ancestors woke up at the same time, the 6 realms would have long been gone. The human emperor sighed. How tragic was the battle back then. All the gods were killed, and the great saints could only be cannon fodder. It was a dark era, an era that no one in the 6 realms dared to mention. Are we not going to make a move? The human emperor came to the Heavenspan shrine, looked at Taoist Heavenspan, and said, "This might be the last time we make a move. The other side has the ancient ancestors, and the 6 realms also have reincarnators." Taoist Heavenspan said in a low voice, "Perhaps there will be a miracle." "What if there is no miracle?" the human emperor asked. "If there is no miracle, then the 2 of us will go to our deaths and fight the final battle." Taoist Heavenspan was very decisive. He then sighed and said, "He didn't come back in the end." At this moment, on the battlefield of the Eternal Fortress, everyone stopped fighting. A group of great saints stood side by side. Opposite them, a group of kings from the other side knelt in the direction of the other side. "We respectfully welcome the 9th ancient ancestor. We respectfully welcome the 9th ancient ancestor." The group of kings, who were usually high and mighty, knelt down together. What dignity and arrogance did they have? Their faces were filled with humility and reverence. The great era of the heaven-awakened world is about to arrive. 10 breaths later, a suffocating pressure appeared on the battlefield. A man covered in light, whose appearance could not be seen clearly, arrived in front of the kings. He lightly waved his hand, and his voice was ethereal as he said, "Fight for me. Go. Supreme. Supreme." At this moment, the kings of the other side stood up and turned to look at the great saints. Today, this war that has lasted for several eras will end. The 6-winged king was very confident because the 9th ancient ancestor had awakened. On the other hand, the expressions of the great saints from the Eternal Fortress were extremely unsightly. They had never thought that an ancient ancestor from the other side would awaken. Has he lost his way? A great saint in a Taoist robe looked up at the sky and sighed heavily. Then, he looked at Jiangchen with an indescribable emotion in his eyes. "Little Ninth, I haven't seen you for a few eras, but you're still so dazzling. I can't even open my eyes." Suddenly, the sky dimmed, and a crack appeared in the void. Black snow drifted down from the sky. Then, an old monk stepped out of the void. His body was filled with an evil aura, and his eyes were blood-red. Behind him was incomparably dark, like an abyss. Buddhist light shone above his head, as if he was a supreme Buddha. Beneath his feet were corpses, and he was like a killing god. Buddha? Or a demon? Many people were puzzled. "Old monk! Save me!" Jiangchen immediately shouted when he saw this person. He was nailed to the ground and could not move. Although the ancient token's power had been scattered, he could not break free from the Sky Tiger King's spear. Chapter 742. The entire place was silent. Only Jiangchen's voice resounded through the air. The old monk looked at Jiangchen with a bit of astonishment. He then mocked. "It's only been a few days since we last met. Why did you come here? Are you here to throw away your life?" Jiangchen was also stunned. He felt that the old monk was different from before. Even the way he spoke was different. Especially the abyss behind the old monk. It was too terrifying, as if it was going to devour everything in the world. "This can be considered half a disciple of mine." Little ninth, can you let him go? The old monk smiled at the ninth ancient ancestor. Although he was asking for the ninth ancient ancestor's opinion, the old monk had already taken action. Not only did he pull out the spear from Jiang Chen's body, he even brought him to his side. Moreover, he used a strange power to instantly heal Jiang Chen's injuries. Evil sovereign, it's been a few eras, the ninth ancient ancestor said softly. When he looked at the old monk, a trace of nostalgia appeared in his eyes. Yeah, it's been a few eras. I almost can't remember. The old monk also sighed. Then, he waved his hand and said, All of you can go back. What happens next isn't something you all can interfere with. When his voice fell, the great saints all nodded and left. Jiang Chen knew that the old monk had undergone some kind of great change. Now, Eternal City should be revered by him. However, Jiang Chen didn't see even a shred of venerable realm intent in the eyes of the great saints who had left. It was to the extent that the Tao race's number one saint even had a trace of resentment and anger towards the old monk. You all can also leave, the ninth ancient ancestor said. The group of foreign kings didn't say much. They were very respectful towards the ninth ancient ancestor. After bowing, they all left. At this moment, only Jiang Chen, the old monk, and the ninth ancient ancestor were left here. Are we going to fight? The old monk looked at the ninth ancient ancestor and said with a sigh. Now I'm the only one from the 6 realms who returned, and you're the only ancient ancestor from the other side who woke up. If we fight now, none of you have the confidence to win, right? I have no confidence. The ninth ancient ancestor nodded and asked, When will the others from the 6 realms return? When will the other ancient ancestors from the other side wake up? The old monk asked in return. In an instant, the two of them fell silent again. A few breaths later, the ninth ancestor waved his hand and said, Let's wait a bit more, now is not the time to start a war. That's right. Let the little ones play around. The old monk nodded. From their conversation, Jiang Chen could tell that neither side had the confidence to defeat the other. And now, these two were the strongest representatives of their respective factions. The world of whoever lost would be destroyed. Therefore, they didn't dare to rashly start this battle. This was especially the case with the ninth ancient ancestor. The other side had always been extremely strong. As long as the other 8 ancient ancestors woke up, even if all of the other 6 realms returned, they still wouldn't be the other side's match. A ceasefire, for the other side, was undoubtedly the best. For the 6 realms, the truce was just waiting for a miracle. In this generation, if no miracle occurred, the 6 realms were destined to be destroyed. Even though it is a ceasefire, you should know that my foreign side holds the absolute advantage, the ninth ancient ancestor said with a sunken voice. He pointed at Jiang Chen and said, I raise a condition, have him come to my foreign side as a guest. When these words sounded, Jiang Chen's fine hairs all stood on end. What kind of joke was this? You foreign kings want to kill me even in your dreams, now you want me to go to the other side as a guest? Wasn't this just throwing meat buns at a dog, going with no return? Jiang Chen would naturally rather die than comply. However, what was surprising was that the old monk actually didn't hesitate in the slightest, directly nodding and agreeing. He looked towards Jiang Chen, as if consoling him, saying, The foreign side scenery, you should take a look as well. That place isn't bad. Old monk, you are selling me out just like that? Jiang Chen glared out. At this type of time, the old monk actually didn't help him. Wasn't this just pushing him into a pit of fire? Don't worry, I am only bringing you to the other side to take a look, I won't take action against you. The ninth ancient ancestor promised Jiang Chen. There are some things you should understand. Are you sure? Jiang Chen's brows jumped, naturally not believing this. Entering the other side was the same as a lamb entering a tiger's den. When the time came, how was Jiang Chen supposed to return? However, the old monk nodded again, saying, Since the ninth ancient ancestor has promised you, then he won't take action against you. You can go in peace. When you return from the other side, I will send you to 9 heaven's divine realm. Old monk, will there really be no problems? Jiang Chen was extremely worried, feeling like something huge would definitely happen. However, the current situation was extremely special. If the old monk wasn't willing to help Jiang Chen, then even if Jiang Chen didn't want to go, he still had to go. After all, he definitely wasn't the ninth ancient ancestor's opponent. I am only bringing you to a few places in the other side to take a look. After seeing them, perhaps you might awaken your past memories. The ninth ancient ancestor said, his expression rather strange. Also, your physical body from when you were Tianqing is still buried in my foreign side. What? Tianqing's physical body is in the other side? Jiang Chen was in disarray. If it was said that Tianqing's physical body was destroyed in the other side, Jiang Chen would naturally believe it. However, the ninth ancient ancestor actually said that it was buried in the other side. Could it be that Tianqing had a special relationship with the other side? Back then, even though Tianqing died, after death, he was given a grand burial by the other side, buried with the highest standards. The old monk explained. There are some things that cannot be said. That can be considered a period of grief. What exactly is going on? Jiang Chen thought to himself. Then, his eyes narrowed, saying, Then let's go take a look. After speaking, Jiang Chen suddenly thought of something, asking, Can you return Tianqing's physical body to me? Of course. The ninth ancient ancestor nodded and said, The main reason I am bringing you to the other side this time is to return Tianqing's physical body to you. Is that really the case? Jiang Chen was a bit confused about the ninth ancient ancestor's thoughts. Everyone knew that when Jiang Chen was Tianqing, he killed quite a few of the other side's experts, to the extent where there were even ancient ancestor-level experts. He and the other side should be irreconcilable until one side was dead. Yet now, the ninth ancient ancestor was actually going to return Tianqing's physical body. Was this a scheme? Jiang Chen couldn't figure it out. Only by taking a look at the other side would he be able to understand the ninth ancient ancestor's intentions. In the end, the old monk returned. The ninth ancient ancestor brought Jiang Chen to the edge of the battlefield, in front of the inverted waterfall. This waterfall, Jiang Chen had seen it before. It should be the other side's realm wall. Behind this waterfall was the world the other side was in. Why is it that I can't sense a trace of malice from your body? Jiang Chen frowned. Along the way, Jiang Chen was always sizing up the ninth ancient ancestor, discovering that this person didn't have any malice towards him. It was to the extent where Jiang Chen even sensed a hint of sympathy from the ninth ancient ancestor's body. What the fuck? What kind of situation was this? The other side's ancient ancestors sympathized with the creatures of the six realms? Let's go, the ninth ancient ancestor said softly. A strand of great Tao Law supported Jiang Chen's body, becoming like a battle robe. Soon after, he brought Jiang Chen through the realm wall, entering the other side's world. The moment they passed through the realm wall, Jiang Chen's eyes lit up. The scenery ahead was actually not inferior to godless continents. Green mountains, flowing water, blue sky, white clouds, the sun hung high in the sky, but it couldn't cover up the radiance of the stars and bright moon. Divine Tao laws pervaded the air. At the highest point of the sky, there were even strands of divine Tao runes and great Tao patterns that were faintly discernible in the void. The other side's cultivation environment is far better than godless continents. Even stronger than Eternal City. Jiang Chen sighed in admiration. No wonder the other side's cultivators were so powerful. It would be strange if the creatures cultivating in this kind of environment weren't strong. Chapter 743. The Foreign Realms environment was extremely special, extremely close to the Great Tao, compatible with it. It was several times better than those so-called blessed lands and heavenly passages. Cultivating in this type of environment, as long as one wasn't an idiot, they could have some accomplishments. Why is the difference between the foreign realm and the six realms so great? Jiang Chen was puzzled. They were both skies, both Great Tao. So why was the difference so great? Jiang Chen calculated a bit. If he had always cultivated in the foreign realm after awakening in this world, his current cultivation would have been at least at the level of a revered deity. Can the cultivation environment here be considered very good? A hint of surprise flashed past the ninth ancient ancestor's eyes, saying in a deep voice, "The foreign realm's true glory is something you cannot imagine. Is it even more powerful than the six realms' most glorious time?" Jiangchen asked. Suppressing the six realms. The ninth ancient ancestor carried a hint of arrogance and confidence. He had lived for countless years, known as an ancient ancestor, so he definitely had the right to speak. He had witnessed countless battles, also saw countless heavenly talents rise up, also witnessed the six realms' glory. However, compared to the foreign realms' glory, the six realms really weren't much. However, what left the foreign realm extremely gloomy was that each time they were about to completely take down the six realms, there would always be some unexpected things that happened. For the six realms, this was a type of miracle. Suppressing the six realms? Jiangchen said with a sunken voice. He didn't believe this. According to what Jiangchen knew, back then, 9 Death's deity already suppressed the foreign realm until they couldn't breathe. It was to the extent where even Jiangchen's previous lives, for example, Tianqing, could intimidate the foreign realm. There are some things that are extremely strange, as if there is a great invisible hand pushing on everything. We are high up above, but we always feel like we are being manipulated by someone, like chess pieces. The ninth ancient ancestor frowned. This type of feeling was something normal people couldn't sense at all. Only someone with his level of cultivation could sense it. It was as if there were invisible threads tied around their bodies, binding their limbs and even their souls. Sometimes there were some things that they didn't want to do at all, yet they were mysteriously done. The other side has always been stronger than the six realms, but for some reason, the six realms have never been destroyed. The ninth ancient ancestor said with a sunken voice. It is as if there is some type of power protecting the six realms. Some kind of power? Jiangchen narrowed his eyes. If there really was such a power, then how powerful would it be? However, from the ninth ancient ancestor's tone, it should be just a guess. I'll bring you to retrieve Tianqing's body first. The ninth ancient ancestor didn't seem to want to talk about this matter anymore. He brought Jiangchen towards the eastern side. The ninth ancestor was very fast. He brought Jiangchen along as though they were shuttling through a space-time tunnel. Jiangchen couldn't see his surroundings at all. His eyes were filled with flashes of light. A dozen breaths later, the light in front of them disappeared. Jiangchen and the ninth ancient ancestor were standing in an open space. The earth was withered and yellow, and there were ancient trees that flickered with divine light all around, like willows. Within the desolation is endless life force. Jiangchen sensed it deeply. This place was extremely mysterious, as if it was a place where heaven and earth's great power gathered. This is a tomb, as well as a place of slumber, the ninth ancient ancestor said. The remaining 8 ancient ancestors are all slumbering below. Then, you brought me here, don't tell me it's because… Jiangchen found it a bit hard to react. Could it be that his body was buried here? The place where the foreign ancient ancestors were slumbering, just how sacred was this? Meanwhile, Jiangchen, for the other side, was a mortal enemy. To bury his mortal enemy's body in the highest place of the other side, what was the meaning of this? You should have been buried here to begin with. The ninth ancient ancestor looked at Jiangchen, his expression rather strange. He pointed below his feet, his voice deep and overcast as he said, Where life comes from, where death returns. What did you say? Jiangchen's heart trembled, his soul even trembling because of these words. Where life comes from, where death returns. Could it be that Jiangchen was someone from the other side? This was impossible, right? According to what Jiangchen knew, as heaven origin, heaven profound, he was a native of the 6 realms. In that case, when he was heaven azure, how could he become a foreign creature? Could it be that he entered the wrong reincarnation, reincarnated into the wrong body? This couldn't be there. You won't believe me even if I tell you. The ninth ancient ancestor sighed. He gave Jiangchen a deep look, as if he had many things to say. However, it was just as he said. Even if he said it, Jiangchen wouldn't believe him either. I won't believe you, but there's no harm in you telling me, Jiangchen said softly. Perhaps it can make me remember something. Remember? That's impossible. The ninth ancient ancestor waved his hand and said, Back then you were sleeping here. I don't know what accident happened, but after you woke up you disappeared. When I met you again, you already entered the 6 realms, becoming the Heaven Azure Divine King in everyone's eyes. Before you died, you already forgot who you were. After you died, what can you remember? When these words were spoken, Jiangchen was also speechless. When he was alive, he already forgot who he was. After he died, he reincarnated several times, so he obviously couldn't remember anything. However, Jiangchen also had a feeling that what the ninth ancient ancestor said might not be true. It was precisely because Jiangchen couldn't remember that the ninth ancient ancestor could casually make things up. However, there was one thing that really made Jiangchen puzzled. Why didn't the ninth ancient ancestor take action against him? Could it be that he really came to bring him back to the Heaven Azure Era's body? There are 100 heavenly will trees planted here. Each one represents an ancient ancestor. The ninth ancient ancestor pointed at the willow-like ancient trees flickering with divine light and said, Carefully sense it. You should be able to find the heavenly will tree that belongs to you. Belongs to me? Jiangchen was skeptical. He didn't believe that he was a foreign ancient ancestor, let alone that he could sense the heavenly will tree that belonged to him here. However, immediately afterwards, when Jiangchen calmed down and his divine senses spread out, he saw that the surrounding scenery had changed. Everything became gray, only a single heavenly will tree flickering with divine light. That tree seemed to have spirituality, extending its branches, actually beckoning towards Jiangchen. Meanwhile, what made Jiangchen the most alarmed was that he actually had a trace of connection with this heavenly will tree. It was as if they were blood relatives. It can't be, right? When I was Heaven Azure, was I really a foreign ancient ancestor? Jiangchen began to waver, absent-mindedly walking towards that heavenly will tree. The ninth ancient ancestor stood at the side, his eyes flickering with radiance, even more so like he was waiting for something. One! However, several breaths later, when Jiangchen arrived in front of that heavenly will tree, the divine light on this heavenly will tree suddenly collapsed. Immediately afterwards, a bronze coffin slowly rose from the heavenly will tree's roots, streak after streak of cryptic patterns appearing. There was even more so a wave of mysterious power that pushed Jiangchen out, severing the connection between Jiangchen and the heavenly will tree. Heaven Azure. As a foreign ancient ancestor, we are doing everything we can to bring you back. Why do you persist in going about things the wrong way? At this moment, the ninth ancient ancestor roared angrily, staring at that bronze coffin, his eyes full of complicated emotions. There was resentment, reminiscence, and helplessness. This is my flesh when I was Heaven Azure. Jiangchen woke up. He stared at the bronze coffin in front of him, even more so able to hear waves of ancient language. Leave this place. Leave this place. This voice lingered by Jiangchen's ears like a demonic voice, engraving itself into his soul. At the same time, the ninth ancient ancestor suddenly took action, his palm covered in symbols, crushing down towards the bronze coffin. Chapter 744. Buried within the bronze coffin was Tianqing's flesh, but there seemed to be a problem, as if it developed intelligence. This wasn't the first time Jiangchen encountered this type of thing. Back then, both his and Yanchang's bodies also developed intelligence. Fortunately, Jiangchen took back his body, but Yanchang's body ascended, becoming a deity on its own. Meanwhile, towards this type of phenomenon, Jiangchen could accept it, and he could understand it. After all, the more powerful one was, the more essence their flesh would contain after death. This type of essence would continuously change, sublimate, all the way until new intelligence was nurtured. With Tianqing's cultivation, his flesh was indestructible. Over time, he would naturally develop intelligence. Tianqing! If not for taking into consideration that you are my foreign realm's third ancient ancestor, How could we let you live? We even more so wouldn't have let you enter the ancestral land, the ninth ancient ancestor berated. Under a palm, the bronze coffin was suppressed under the heavenly spirit tree. Jiangchen stood on the side, his mood incomparably complicated. He really was the foreign realm's third ancient ancestor. If I really am the foreign realm's third ancient ancestor, why would I help the six realms back then? Jiangchen was confused. Moreover, if Tianqing really came out from here, then why weren't his memories complete? There were definitely many secrets here. Meanwhile, what made Jiangchen even more confused was that Tianqing's flesh developed intelligence. But it was extremely strange, actually having him leave this place. This meant that after developing intelligence, Tianqing's flesh definitely preserved some memories of his past life. Otherwise, this Tianqing's flesh that developed intelligence, he and Jiangchen had never met before, so how could it say these words? Inside, there are many secrets that you didn't tell me, right? Jiangchen asked. There are indeed many secrets. The ninth ancient ancestor said truthfully. Heaven and earth are of the same origin to begin with. If not for the great calamity back then, if not for that person, the foreign realm and six realms would still be one, not separated. The six realms and foreign realm are one? Jiangchen cried out in alarm. The six realms were formed from six great worlds, collectively known as the six realms. There were realm walls between each realm, difficult to pass through. Meanwhile, the other side was an independent world, also having realm walls. This was something the great Tao understood, condensed from natural laws. If what the ninth ancient ancestor said was true, Jiangchen found it hard to imagine just how strong that person back then was to actually break the realm wall and split the world into two. If what you said is true, then why did that person want to separate the foreign realm from the six realms? Jiangchen asked. This is related to a few secrets. The ninth ancient ancestor shook his head, not willing to bring up the past matters. However, he told Jiangchen that it wasn't the other side who wanted to attack the six realms, but rather the six realms who wanted to wipe out the other side. Of course, the ninth ancient ancestor wasn't willing to say what exactly was going on. It should all carry a hint of darkness. You've already destroyed 5 out of the 6 realms. Can't you just let go of the last 9th heaven divine world? Jiangchen frowned. How many generations has this war lasted? How many people have died? Why do you still want to continue? There will always be casualties in war. The other side has also lost many people. Could it be that you really want to fight to the death? When these words were spoken, the 9th ancient ancestor's face fell. He stared at Jiangchen, remaining silent for a long time. Only then did he say coldly, "Do you think it is my other side who wants to fight?" "What do you mean?" Jiangchen was stunned. Please, during these generations, it was always the other side who attacked the 6 realms, the 6 realms always defending. What was going on? Could it be that the 6 realms forced the other side to attack? There are some things that aren't as simple as you think. The 9th ancient ancestor's expression and tone didn't seem quite right. It was as if he had been suppressing himself for a long time, now completely erupting. He first remained silent for a moment, and then he glared at Jiangchen, roaring angrily. Who doesn't want to live a peaceful and stable life? Who doesn't want to see their own children grow up healthily? But do you think it will work? Will it work? Just who is the one with the final say in this world? Not me. Not you either. Not the 6 realms, even more so not my other side's wasteland. When the great dark sky descends, when the black great era begins, do you think the 6 realms and the other side can safely make it through? Impossible! The 9th ancient ancestor roared angrily, his voice ringing through all directions. Fortunately, this was the other side's ancestral land, extremely special, his voice unable to pass through. If these words were transmitted out, forget about the other side, even the 6 realms would be shaken. We are all struggling to survive between the cracks. Who is right and who is wrong? Who can decide? Who can see through this? Did my other side do anything wrong? Did the 6 realms do anything wrong? None of them did anything wrong. The one who was wrong is the heavens, the heavens have long changed. Continuous roars and roars of anger shook Jiangchen until his blood energy surged, even his soul suffering attacks. Blood flowed from his 7 apertures, soul radiance dim. Even with the myriad change heavenly lamp and 3 strands of chaotic energy, it was still difficult to stabilize his soul. Are you all right? A few breaths later, the 9th ancient ancestor reacted, a hint of panic appearing in his eyes. He realized that he said something he shouldn't have. Those words were all taboo, they couldn't be spoken. Even if he was the most powerful, the other side's 9th ancient ancestor, he still didn't dare rashly speak these words. The heavens changed? Jiangchen wiped away the bloodstains, his face sunk, thinking of many things. He also became quiet, not saying anything this entire time. The 9th ancient ancestor was also silent, unknown what he was thinking. Only after a long time had passed did Jiangchen slowly open his mouth, saying, "I am going back. Tianqing's body was originally going to be returned to you, but as you can see, he developed intelligence, you can't take it back." The 9th ancient ancestor said with a sigh, "When your strength is enough, you can come here at any time to take back your body. Also, you cannot mention today's matters to anyone, especially the evil sovereign." The 9th ancient ancestor warned, "That person is extremely complicated, not something you can imagine." Old monk? He seems to really be quite unordinary. Jiangchen muttered. The old monk returned from the void, carrying the black abyss, but flickering with Buddhist light, as if he was a Buddha who had fallen into darkness. He blocked the 9th ancient ancestor, but the great saints of Eternal City didn't like the old monk, to the extent that they didn't even have the slightest bit of respect. Now, the 9th ancient ancestor said such words again. Jiangchen became more and more curious about the old monk, but of course, he was even more apprehensive. It won't be long before a 3rd power appears in this world, the era of darkness will begin. The 9th ancient ancestor's expression was deep, his eyes filled with worry. He stared at Jiangchen and opened his mouth, as if he had something to say, but in the end, he didn't say it. Speaking of which, you seem to be very afraid of the old monk. Jiangchen probed. Do you know his identity? Him? Heh. The 9th ancient ancestor raised his eyebrows and said with contempt, "Just a dog. If not for the master behind him being supreme, I would have killed him on the battlefield." Although Jiangchen didn't know the 9th ancient ancestor's strength, he could still guess a bit. This was the 9th ancient ancestor of the foreign world. His strength was so great that it could be considered to be at the top. However, this kind of person actually had someone he was afraid of. Jiangchen couldn't imagine just how strong the backing behind the old monk was. That kind of realm and cultivation should have exceeded the limits and shackles of this world, right? Chapter 745. That old monk is quite good to me, Jiangchen said softly. He's good to everyone, but not to anyone. The 9th ancestor's expression became strange. He looked up at the sky and sighed heavily. When he's good, the heavens are worshipping him. When he's bad, the blood purgatory ocean is nothing more than a flick of his finger. Forget it, let's not talk about him. We'll have to fight anyway, there's no avoiding it. The ancestor waved his hand and took out a jade-like crystal. He handed it to Jiangchen and said, "This was originally yours, so I'll return it to you now." "This is a merit law?" Jiangchen examined it. There was a method carved in the crystal, and it was practiced in a special way. It was not a method from the 6 realms. Jiangchen had seen all of the merit laws of the 6 worlds. Even if he didn't, Jiangchen knew the general cultivation principles. However, the merit law before him was very special. It was completely different from the 6 worlds' merit laws. Even the flow of power in the body was different. The power of the 6 worlds focused on the 4 limbs, the 100 bones, the 8 extraordinary meridians, and even the soul and soul. And this cultivation method actually cultivated the flesh and blood. "This is mine?" Jiangchen asked. "Is it a foreign merit law?" "It's yours." The 9th ancestor's expression didn't look right. He glanced at the ground and asked softly, Ancestors, is this really okay? As someone from the 6 worlds, I can't cultivate a foreign merit law, right? Jiang Chen was a bit worried. They were in 2 different worlds and had different Tao imprints. Cultivating a foreign merit law might create a conflict with themselves and bring about misfortune. As I said, we're all from the same heaven. The 9th ancestor explained. The great Tao is the same. This is the merit law I cultivated when I was Azure. Jiang Chen asked again. Why are you giving it to me? Aren't you afraid that I'll come and destroy the foreign realm after becoming strong? The 9th ancient ancestor smiled wryly when he heard that. He pointed at the ground and said, It's their idea. The intentions of the other ancient ancestors? Jiang Chen was stunned. At this moment, Jiang Chen was a bit stupefied. Just what were these foreign ancient ancestors thinking? Want him to grow? Then, they came to wipe out the other side? Or was it to say that this was to curry favor with Jiang Chen, wishing for Jiang Chen to join the other side? Let's go back. The 9th ancestor didn't say anything else. He waved his hand and opened a spatial passage. Then, before Jiang Chen could ask again, he directly sent him out. After coming out of the spatial passageway, Jiang Chen had a blank look on his face. The trip to the other side ended so quickly? He didn't manage to find Tian Qing's body, but he did manage to obtain a cultivation technique. At the same time, Jiang Chen also heard some shocking news. Of course, no one knew if what the 9th ancient ancestor said was true or false. He's back? At this moment, the old monk suddenly appeared in front of Jiang Chen. This was outside the city walls of Eternal City. The old monk seemed to have been waiting here the entire time. Jiang Chen glanced at the old monk and felt weak in his heart. He kept feeling as if he was facing an endless abyss. Standing in front of the old monk, it was as if he would be devoured. You seem to be afraid of me, the old monk said expressionlessly. In the past, the old monk would always speak with a smile. Even if the smile was fake, the old monk would still forcefully pretend. But now, the old monk seemed to have really forgotten how to smile. At this moment, Jiang Chen remembered what the old monk said before. He should take the opportunity to smile more now. Perhaps he wouldn't even know how to smile in the future. Master, the 9th ancient ancestor said a lot to me, Jiang Chen said softly. Do you want to know what he said to me? Hearing this, the old monk shook his head and said calmly, There's no need to know. After saying that, the old monk patted Jiang Chen's shoulder and said, You've stayed in Eternal City for a long time. Make some preparations and settle some things. I'll send you to the 9th heaven divine realm. Yes, it's about time to go. Jiang Chen nodded. But in the next moment, Jiang Chen's face darkened. It was because the old monk asked him, There are so many marriages. What do you plan to do? Those families and sects are all looking for you. When these words came out, Jiang Chen really had the urge to run. What kind of joke was this? Was he really going to get married? Impossible. Master, can't you help me? Jiang Chen said shamelessly. In any case, I've inherited half of your mantle. I'm now considered a monk. You can't not help me, right? I can help you reject other marriages, but you must marry the all-transformations sacred body of the Light Clan, the old monk said with a stern expression. He was very serious. Why? Jiang Chen was puzzled. He could reject other marriages, but why couldn't he reject the Light Clans? One had to know that Jiang Chen and the Light Master God were sworn enemies. If he married the Light Clan's all-transformations holy physique, when he met the Light Master God in the future, what should he call him? Ancestor? Ancestor? She's very important to you. The old monk pointed at Jiang Chen's forehead. The all-transformations holy physique and your all-transformations heavenly lamp come from the same source. What? Jiang Chen exclaimed, his expression changing. The all-transformations heavenly lamp was the strongest Tao soul in the world. It originated from chaos and was born from the great Tao. How could it be related to the living beings in the world? Since ancient times, Jiang Chen had never heard of such a thing. But looking at the old monk, it didn't seem like he was lying. A long time ago, A time so long ago that there was no era name, every living being had a Tao soul. At that time, living beings who had the all transformations heavenly lamp must have the all transformations holy physique. The two complemented each other, and their power was unparalleled. That's why the all transformations heavenly lamp became the strongest Tao soul, the old monk explained. Then, he glanced at Jiangchen with slight contempt, and said snappily, "Your all transformations heavenly lamp is nothing now. Other than the all transformations heavenly slash, do you have anything else?" This? Jiangchen's face flushed. He was quite embarrassed. "The shackles of your all transformations heavenly lamp haven't been unlocked. Even the lamp bearer hasn't appeared." The old monk mocked. "A lamp? If there's no lamp bearer, this lamp will stay where it is and never move forward." "Lamp bearer?" Jiangchen was confused. But suddenly, he remembered the strange phenomenon of the all transformations heavenly lamp when he was cultivating the soul ascension demonic skill. At that time, the three Tao souls had changed. Next to the all transformations heavenly lamp, an illusory figure had appeared, carrying the all transformations heavenly lamp. However, the illusory figure was very blurry, like a layer of clouds, and he couldn't see it clearly. Must it combine with the all transformations holy physique to unlock the shackles of the all transformations heavenly lamp and reflect the lamp bearer? Jiangchen asked. Logically speaking, that's the case. The old monk nodded. However, the old monk stared at Jiangchen's eyes, raised his snow-white eyebrows slightly, and asked, "Don't tell me, you've already reflected the lamp bearer?" "No." Jiangchen shook his head immediately. In the past, Jiangchen would have told the truth. However, after hearing the words of the ninth ancient ancestor, Jiangchen had some doubts about the old monk. Moreover, the myriad transformations heavenly lamp was Jiangchen's strongest technique, and it was impossible for him to tell others everything about the myriad transformations heavenly lamp. If he did that, wouldn't all his secrets be exposed? Chapter 746. Jiangchen didn't completely believe the ninth ancient ancestor's words, but he didn't completely believe the old monk either. He had a feeling that everything in front of him was too superficial. The deeper things were probably so dark that it made one's heart turn cold. "Then it's decided. Now come back to Eternal City with me and go to the Xian clan." The old monk couldn't tolerate Jiangchen's resistance, and grabbed his shoulder. After a few breaths, Jiangchen and the old monk appeared outside the Xian clan's mountain gate. "What's going on?" At this moment, Jiangchen's expression changed greatly. The Xian clan's mountain gate had actually been breached. There was blood everywhere, and there were even some broken limbs that hadn't been cleaned up. The Xian clan was breached by the Lu clan. Many people died. The old monk sighed. "I came back late. Where's Xian Qing? Where's Xian Jian?" Jiangchen hurriedly asked. "They're fine, but Xian Guiyan died in battle," the old monk said softly. He listened to the sad words, but there was no trace of sadness on his face. He was so calm. Even in the face of the blood on the ground and the broken limbs, he was still calm and indifferent. "Died in battle!" Jiangchen clenched his fists. Although he didn't have any feelings for Xian Guiyan, he was one of Xian Qing's only two remaining sons. Jiangchen had never imagined that Xian Qing, who had lived for several eras, would only have one son left. In the huge Xian clan, only Xian Jian was left of the direct bloodline. "Where's the Lu clan?" Jiangchen said coldly, his heart burning with anger. Back then, Xian Guiyan had told Jiangchen to let him and another group of people destroy the Luan clan and the Lu clan. At first, Jiangchen thought it was too cruel. He was very hesitant, and even unwilling to do so. But later, when it came to the Carefree clan, Jiangchen saw the Luan clan's nature clearly. But he didn't expect that the Lu clan would be like the Luan clan. The entire clan had betrayed them. Jiangchen couldn't imagine what would have happened if the old monk had returned a step later. Would the Xian clan have been exterminated? "I don't know if it's the Xian race, but the Carefree race has suffered heavy casualties. As for the Desolate race, most of them have been killed. Now less than 30% of them are still alive," the old monk said calmly, as though he was talking about something unimportant. "The Tao race lost 3 great saints and 6 sovereigns. The Buddha race lost 2 Taishang Buddhas, 8 master gods, and other major clans and sections. In the chaos this time around, more than 30 master gods have died," the old monk said. "As for those who have surpassed the master god level, no less than 10 have died. The Luan clan and the Lu clan are just 2 clans. How can they cause such a bloody storm?" Jiang Chen was puzzled. What kind of place was the Eternal Fortress? This was a barrier between the 6 realms. What kind of experts were there in the city? All the major clans, sects, and forces had dozens of chief gods on the surface, and that was not including those who were lurking in the dark. How many master gods did the Luan clan and the Lu clan have? Not to mention the experts who had surpassed the master god level. With such a great disparity in strength, how did the Luan clan and the Lu clan do it? The carefree race had suffered heavy losses and was almost annihilated. The Xian race's mountain gate was breached, and Xian Huyan died in battle. The desolate race was almost massacred. Now, only 30% of them were left. The Luan clan and the Lu clan have been hiding in the Eternal Fortress for a long time. Their heritage is very strong, and there are also foreign creatures who have secretly entered the Eternal Fortress," the old monk explained. "Thankfully, everything is over. The Luan clan and the Lu clan no longer exist in this world. There are many things to be done," the old monk said softly. "Master!" At that moment, Xian Qing walked over from the Xian race's mountain gate, wearing a blood-stained battle robe. He was supported by Xian Huyan. His eyes had lost some of their luster, and there was more sadness in them. Xian Huyan was the same. A tough man like him dared to fight the foreign kings on the front lines. But now, his eyes were filled with sadness. "Master! My son!" Xian Qing opened his mouth, but he was too sad to say a complete sentence. Jiang Chen was sad. He walked in front of Xian Qing and patted him on the shoulder. He said solemnly, "Don't worry, the Xian race will exist forever. Xian Qing, I brought him back today to let him complete the wedding." The old monk didn't care about Xian Qing. He said directly, "Clean up and send someone to the radiant race. Let their all-transformation sacred body come here for the wedding." This? Xian Qing's face stiffened. Xian Huyan's body hadn't even turned cold, and now there was another wedding. "Master, how about a few days later?" Jiang Chen frowned, dissatisfied with the old monk's actions. However, the old monk insisted. He stared at Xian Qing and said coldly, "This is an order. Evil sovereign! Don't think that you have the final say in the Eternal Fortress just because you've returned." Xian Huyan was very strong, but Xian Qing quickly stopped him. No one knew better than Xian Qing how terrifying the old monk was. This was a demonic Buddha. Moreover, the old monk's methods were very decisive and ruthless. The first thing he did after returning to the Eternal City was not to suppress the Wan and Lu clans, but to go to the Dao clan and suppress the previous first great saint in the Everlasting Hall. This was a person who held grudges. "Evil sovereign, can you give me 7 days?" Xian Qing was sad but also helpless. There was no other way. In this world, a word from an expert was an ironclad order. 7 days. After 7 days, I want to see him marry the all-transformation sacred body of the radiant race, the old monk said in a deep voice. Then, the old monk looked at Jiang Chen and pointed at a tower in the clouds. He said, "Go to the spirit tower to cultivate now. That's a gift for you. Originally you had more than 10 days, but now you can only cultivate for 7 days. After 7 days, I'll wait for you here." The old monk stared at Jiang Chen and said, "If I don't see you in 7 days, the Xian race will be gone." After hearing this, Jiang Chen's heart turned cold. He thought of the 9th ancestor's words. When the old monk was doing well, the heavens would worship him. When he was not, the blood purgatory sea would be at his feet. "Master, you've changed," Jiang Chen said softly. His heart was cold. "I haven't changed," I've just found back what I lost, the old monk said. You've cultivated the soul ascension demonic art. You'll also lose something and become like me. Whether it's good or bad, it's up to you. After saying that, the old monk disappeared from the place. Master, the evil sovereign, has no ill intentions. Xianqing sighed. He has his own difficulties. No matter what difficulties he has, I won't agree to use your Xian race to threaten me, Jiangchen said coldly. However, after saying this, Jiangchen smiled wryly. So what if he didn't agree? He was no match for the evil sovereign right now. He could only accept his fate. See you in 7 days. Then, Jiangchen left and entered the Spirit Tower. There was nothing special about the Spirit Tower. It was just that there was a prehistoric cultivation formation here, so cultivating here was twice the result with half the effort. After entering the Spirit Tower, Jiangchen immediately began to cultivate. He did not waste any time. Time passed by slowly. Chapter 747. During the 7 days, Jiangchen cultivated the soul ascending demonic technique in the morning and the incomplete heavenly manual in the rest of the time. As for the thick earth divine manual, due to the lack of foreign soil, it was difficult to cultivate. As a result, the cultivation speed of the incomplete heavenly manual was naturally much slower. Time passed, and it was the 7th day. On this day, Jiangchen stopped cultivating and opened his eyes. After adjusting his breathing for a while, he prepared to head to the Xian tribe. However, at this moment, Jiangchen thought of something and took out the crystal from his bosom. The crystal recorded the cultivation method of the Azure Sky era. It was a foreign cultivation method. The cultivation method was different from the 6 realms, and it focused on the flesh. Looking at the time, there was still some time before the end of the 7th day. Jiangchen thought for a while and began to comprehend this cultivation method. After a few hours, Jiangchen's eyes flashed with a trace of doubt. This was because the cultivation method described that the energy of heaven and earth could be used. However, the human body was like a container, and there would be a time when it was full. Once it was full, it would be impossible to continue cultivating. This was what people called a bottleneck. At this time, it was related to one's aptitude and talent. Those with high aptitude and talent were like bigger containers. They could absorb more energy and cultivate to a higher realm. Those with low aptitude would have smaller containers, and their cultivation would have a bottleneck. They might even be unable to break through and stay at a certain realm. Meanwhile, the foreign cultivation methods broke through this restriction. The 6 realms cultivation method fused energy into the 4 limbs and bones, the 8 extraordinary meridians, and even the soul, spirit, and Tao spirit. However, these were all limited. However, the foreign creatures fused energy into their flesh. Every drop of blood, every inch of flesh, could be used as a container. How much blood and flesh did a person have? Uncountable, unfathomable. There was blood within blood, and flesh within flesh. If one's flesh was filled with energy, then the strength of this energy was not something an ordinary person could imagine. As for the Azure Sky era's cultivation method, it was far more powerful than ordinary foreign cultivation methods. After cultivating to a certain level, one would be able to condense their blood and turn their flesh into a spirit, opening up the treasures of the human body. It was like a storehouse, where one could store excess energy, and use it when they needed it. No wonder the creatures of the other realms are generally stronger than those of the 6 realms. It turns out that there is a huge difference in their cultivation methods. Jiangchen sighed. After that, Jiangchen tried to cultivate this cultivation method. In just 10 breaths of time, he could not take it anymore. As soon as the origin energy of heaven and earth and the power of God entered his body, his blood began to boil, and he nearly evaporated. His physical body emitted a series of explosive sounds as if it was about to explode. If it weren't for Jiangchen's strong physique, his holy body, and his cultivation of the 9 deaths technique, his body would have exploded long ago. This cultivation method is so difficult. Jiangchen was shocked. Wasn't it too difficult to cultivate this technique to the peak? Looks like his fleshly body isn't strong enough. Jiangchen had a strange look on his face. All this while, Jiangchen had always thought that his physical body was very strong, even ridiculously strong. But now, it seemed that it was not the case at all. Perhaps, he would have to cultivate another level of the 9 Deaths technique before he could cultivate the cultivation method of the Azure Sky era. It's about time. After a few breaths of time, Jiangchen got up and walked out of the pagoda. He flew into the air and arrived at the Xian clan. On this day, the Xian clan was filled with red light and a joyous atmosphere. Everyone was dressed appropriately, wearing robes and a red crown on their heads. Even Xian Qing and Xian Jian were the same. In the main hall of the Xian clan, the leaders of the major forces of the Eternal City were seated. Among them were the Desolate God and Marquis Xiaoyao. At the front of the main hall, the old monk sat quietly with his eyes squinted. He did not say a word. After Jiangchen entered the main hall, the old monk waved his hand and said, "Let's begin." "That evil lord!" But at this moment, the new leader of the Light Clan, who was the previous great elder, stood up with an awkward expression. He did not dare to say anything. "It's okay. Speak," the old monk said. "As everyone knows, the all-transformation sacred body is the most beautiful woman in the Eternal City. Now outside." The leader of the Light Clan had a strange expression. He looked at the leaders of the major forces and said, "Many people are unhappy with this marriage. Since you are unhappy, show me your strength. If anyone is stronger than Jiangchen, then this marriage is not going to happen." The old monk did not like to talk nonsense. He directly stated his intentions. Marquis Xiaoyao stood up and said with his eyebrows raised, "The Xiaoyao clan is unhappy. How can the geniuses of our clan be inferior to him? Don't think that the Xiaoyao clan will let this go just because he is indebted to us." Ahem. Although the Desolate clan and the Xian clan are on the same side now, I will not agree to this marriage. The Desolate God also stood up and cupped his hands at the crowd. He said, "Everyone knows that the Desolate clan has suffered a great loss in this turmoil. We need to replenish our bloodline. What I mean is, why don't the all-transformation sacred body of the Light Clan marry into the Desolate clan and continue our bloodline? Then, the Desolate clan will be on good terms with the Light Clan." After the Desolate God finished speaking, the leaders of the major forces stood up. Their intentions were similar to Marquis Xiaoyao's. Jiangchen was delighted when he heard these words. "Great! You don't agree? That's exactly what I want. Everyone, I am not boasting, but I am invincible in the same realm. If the geniuses of your forces want to challenge me, they should at least send someone at the level of a titled god," Jiangchen said seriously. Jiangchen's idea was very good. "If you send someone at the level of a titled god, I will lose immediately. If I lose, I won't have to get married. Do you think I am a fool?" The old monk's face darkened. He stared at Jiangchen and said in a deep voice, "Everyone knows your combat strength. You can only send geniuses below the level of Her Eminence, and they cannot be older than 100 years old. What the F***ck? Is this a joke? Below the level of Her Eminence?" Jiangchen's face was even darker than the old monk's. With Jiangchen's current strength, he was invincible below the level of Her Eminence. "Evil Dominator, is that all you want?" Marquis Xiaoyao raised his eyebrows. He was not afraid of the Evil Dominator at all. The Xiaoyao clan was born to be kings. "That's all." The old monk nodded. "Then let's go." Marquis Xiaoyao was very direct. He turned around and walked out of the hall. Jiangchen stood in place. He really did not want to go out. This was because if his cultivation level was not above the level of Her Eminence, he would definitely win. The outcome was already decided. "Go out," the old monk said with a fierce look. "Don't expose me." Okay." Jiangchen was full of bitterness. He thought to himself, "What kind of world is this? Others were fighting for the sacred body of all things, but he did not want it. Even if he did not want it, he had to be forced to accept it." Jiangchen felt bitter in his heart. However, when Jiangchen came out of the hall, he was immediately happy. Chapter 748. A young man from the Xiaoyao clan had reached the level of a profound god. Of course, that was not the point. The point was that he was holding a divine weapon at the level of a master god. If I lose today, I will remember your kindness. Jiangchen was very touched. He did not expect Duke Xiaoyao to treat him so well. The evil dominator did not say that we could not use divine weapons, Duke Xiaoyao joked. The all-transformation sacred body of the Light Clan already belongs to the Xiaoyao clan. Duke Xiaoyao, are you the only one who has thought of everything? Did the Desolate clan not think of that? The Desolate god chuckled and pointed at a young man from the Desolate clan not far away. That was Huang Donglu. He was holding a long sword in his hand, which was emitting a sword radiance that looked like the clouds. He also exuded the aura of a master god. My race came prepared as well, said Qin Wentian. The leader of another force laughed and patted the shoulder of a young man beside him. Take it out and let them see. Buzz. As soon as he finished speaking, the young man took out a formation stone. Instantly, a terrifying great killing formation appeared. Its might was so great that even a chief god would be wary of it. You are too good to me. Jiangchen was excited. He was sure that he would lose this battle. This was the first time that Jiangchen had wanted to lose a battle so badly. Everyone in the Eternal City knew about Jiangchen's combat strength, including the masters and the leaders of the major forces. Therefore, when people of the same generation wanted to challenge Jiangchen, they had to use some tricks. Even the top geniuses of the various clans had no chance of winning against Jiangchen. Master, you can't blame me for this? Jiangchen looked at the old monk. The old monk's face was as black as ink, and his eyes were about to spit fire. If you dare to lose, you can choose not to marry the all-transformation sacred body, but you will lose your life, the old monk said coldly. Are you threatening me? Jiangchen raised his eyebrows. He hated it when people threatened him. However, in the face of the old monk's threat, Jiangchen could only say something. He did not dare to do anything. After all, the old monk's strength was obvious. The old monk was the leader of the Eternal City. Previously, the Taoist clan's first great saint was suppressed by the old monk. Why don't the Taoist clan try to come out now? The old monk had a firm grip on the area of hegemony. Grandmaster, please take a closer look. What are those things in their hands? Divine artifact? What the hell is that killing array? Even if you don't kill me, I'm afraid I'll be killed by the great killing formation. Jiangchen pulled a long face. He thought to himself that he was suffering too much. Xiaoyao, Xiaoyao, Xiaoyao. The old monk's words. The old monk spoke in an unpleasant tone. Staring at Jiangchen, he said in a deep voice. If you dare to throw the game, I'll light a sky lantern for you. Xiaoyao, 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 Xiaoyao. Xiaoyao, 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 course, Xiaoyao, Xiaoyao, Xiaoyos, Xiaoyao, divine, Xiaoyaos, S, Xiaoyos, Xiaoyos, Xiaoyao, Xiaoyos, Xiaoyos, Xiaoyao, Xiaoxio. Evil dominator, you can't make things difficult for Jiangchen. The Desolate God said. I don't think he wants to marry the all-transformation sacred body of the Light Clan. Since he doesn't want to, why force him? What are you guys thinking about? Do you think I don't know? The old monk's eyes suddenly flashed as he glanced at the Desolate God and the others. After a few breaths, a trace of killing intent actually flashed through his eyes. His voice was as cold as the frost of the 12th lunar month. Of all the people present, only he was kept in the dark. Evil dominator, there are some things that cannot be forced, Marquis Xiaoyao said indifferently. So what if he knows? You were the one who set the rules today, and you still want to go against your own rules? As far as I know, evil dominator, you are the one who values rules the most. The moment he said that, the old monk's expression turned even uglier. He glared at Duke Xiaoyao, gritted his teeth, and said in a deep voice, Do you believe that the next clan to disappear from the Eternal City will be your Xiaoyao clan? Come and try. Duke Xiaoyao was very stubborn. Even though he knew that it was impossible to stop the old monk with the strength of his entire clan, he still refused to back down. However, everyone could see that the old monk would not really destroy the Xiaoyao clan because of this matter. And Duke Xiaoyao knew this very well. Otherwise, Duke Xiaoyao would not be so calm when this matter concerned the life and death of his clan. Teacher! They have divine weapons, but so do we! At this moment, Xianqing stepped forward with 3 divine weapons floating behind him, as well as a divine king weapon. He walked up to Jiangchen with a smile. He put the 3 weapons in front of Jiangchen as if he was trying to please him. He said, "Master, go ahead and do it." Xianqing. Jiangchen held the 3 divine weapons with a smile on his face, but his heart was about to turn black from crying. Brother, can't you see the situation clearly? Or do you not understand my thoughts? Are you trying to harm me by bringing out divine weapons at a time like this? Teacher, this is the protective mountain array of the Xian clan. Take it and use it. No matter how powerful the killing array is, it won't hurt you at all. Xianqing took out an array stone and stuffed it into Jiangchen's hand. He said, "It's easy to activate the array stone. Just make a Dharma seal." Xianqing, why are you so nice to me? Jiangchen said with a dark face. He wished he could strangle Xianqing to death. Xianqing, you're the most sensible one. I think you can also become a great saint. The old monk was very pleased. Perhaps even he did not expect Xianqing to do this. Now, he had both the divine weapons and the array. Both sides were even. Now, it was a battle of personal combat strength. When it came to personal combat strength, the old monk trusted Jiangchen a lot. Everyone wants to marry me, but you don't want to? What do you take me for, trying to make excuses? You're the one who came to the Light Clan to propose marriage. You're the one who wants the mystical soil. Now that we're about to get married, you're changing your mind? What do you take me, Su Nuobing, for? Trash? All of a sudden, shouts came from outside the square. Then, a holy light rose from the distance. A woman in a white robe and a golden crown appeared in the sky. She had a beautiful face and an excellent figure. She looked as if she had been sculpted by a heavenly craftsman. She was ethereal, but there was a hint of anger in her eyes. She gave off a special vibe. This person was the All Transformations holy body of the Light Clan, Su Nuobing. All of you, back off. I'll decide my own marriage. Su Nuobing's expression was cold. She walked up to Jiangchen and raised her eyebrows. You're Jiangchen? Yes. Jiangchen's hair stood on end. He had a feeling that this woman was not simple. I'll fight you at the same cultivation level. If you win, I'll marry you. If you lose, you don't have the right to marry me. Su Nuobing said coldly. There was a hint of arrogance in her ethereal voice. Su Nuobing was known as the #1 beauty in Eternal City. She was also the strongest prodigy of the Light Clan in the past 10,000 years. Someone once said that if Su Nuobing was given another 10,000 years, she would be able to become a divine king. Chapter 749. Isn't this nonsense? I don't want to marry you at all, Jiangchen muttered. If I beat you, I'll marry you. If I lose, the old monk will take my life. How should I fight this battle? What did you say? Su Nuobing's face froze, and her knuckles cracked. The number of people chasing her could line up from the walls of Eternal City to the mountain gate of the Light Clan. As long as she nodded, she could have any man she wanted. But the person in front of her actually despised her in front of so many people. Old monk, don't threaten me. I'll tell you the truth. If I win, I'll marry her. If I lose, the marriage will be cancelled. What do you think? Jiangchen suddenly turned his head to look at the old monk. He said, Don't worry. I'll try my best to fight you. You can't beat her even if you do your best. However, to everyone's surprise, the old monk glanced at Jiangchen disdainfully. Then he sighed heavily and said, Fine. Fine. Maybe this is fate. Wait. At this moment, Jiangchen was unhappy. I can be forced to get married, and I can be defeated in a fake battle. But, you're looking down on me in front of so many people? Is this really okay? I'm a divine king of several lifetimes, and I can't beat a sacred body of all things. Moreover, Su Nuobing's cultivation is about the same as mine. Old monk, what do you mean? Do you think I can't beat this woman who's covered in light? Jiangchen glanced at him angrily. What if I win? The old monk thought for a moment and said, If you win, the marriage will proceed as normal. Jiangchen was petrified. He was dumbfounded. After a few breaths, Jiangchen smiled and said, Master, you're right. I can't beat her. To Jiangchen, there was no need to fight this battle. Victory and defeat were one and the same. I'll never force someone. The old monk sighed and chanted a Buddhist chant. Then, the Buddhist light on his body flashed, and he disappeared from the place. Jiangchen blinked and thought to himself, why is the old monk suddenly so easy to talk to? He is being kind. Marquis Xiaoyao was stunned. He asked the desolate god, Since when has the evil dominator shown kindness? Never. The desolate god frowned and said with a deep voice, As long as he returns, he will never show any kindness. What is going on today? The other sovereigns, as well as the great saints who were secretly observing the situation, were puzzled as well. What was the evil lord? Evil to the extreme, regardless of right or wrong, this is evil. To many people, the evil lord had never been kind, and he would never forgive a person or a matter easily. But today, the evil lord had left just like that. If he didn't leave, Jiang Chen's wedding would definitely be held today. Let's just treat it as a farce. Xian Qing giggled. Let's just treat it as the evil lord has just returned and hasn't settled down yet. A farce? We don't mind it. Marquis Xiaoyao joked. But I don't know what the Light Clan will think. Xian Qing's face turned ugly when he heard this. Jiang Chen was breaking off the engagement. And he was breaking off the engagement in front of the entire Eternal City. Where would the Light Clan put their face? Xian Qing, you better give us an explanation. The Light Clan leader's face was ugly, and his eyes were burning with anger. Especially when he looked at Jiang Chen, he wanted to swallow him alive. The evil lord will deal with this matter. Xian Qing threw all the responsibility to the evil lord. He said innocently, I'm not the one marrying Su Nuobing. Why are you looking for me? Moreover, my master's surname is Jiang, not Xian. You old scoundrel. The Light Clan leader blew his beard and glared at him. He glanced at the desolate god and thought to himself, no wonder these two families are so shameless. They have role models. In the end, all the clans left. It seemed that this matter had come to an end. However, half a day later, a beautiful figure quietly arrived at the back mountain of the Xian clan. At the same time, Jiang Chen stood at the peak of the back mountain and stared at the woman in front of him. He smiled faintly and said, Do you really want to fight with me? I don't care about the engagement. I just want to see how strong you are. The woman said softly. Her voice was calm and ethereal. She was Su Nuobing. After everyone left the Xian clan, she came back. Just as she said this time, she did not come for the engagement. She simply wanted to see how strong Jiang Chen was. He dominated the human battlefield and then the spirit battlefield, forcing the foreign realm to change the rules. How glorious such a battle record was! However, Su Nuobing did not believe it. She had been in seclusion for a while. She had made some progress in her cultivation and believed that she could do the same. When your ancestor fought with me one-on-one, I gave him a handicap of one hand, let alone his descendant. Jiang Chen said with disdain. He pointed above his head and said, That grandson of the sovereign god of light knelt at my feet back then. That's his business. Su Nuobing raised her eyebrows and said, You might not be invincible among your peers. Then let's give it a try. Jiang Chen said softly. Suddenly, a cold glint flashed past his eyes. He stared at Su Nuobing and felt a familiar aura. Several breaths later, Jiang Chen suddenly smiled. He understood what this familiar aura was about and had an idea. Dark abyss. Right at this moment, Su Nuobing shouted. Resplendent runes flickered on her body and rays of holy light erupted. Holy light and runes interweaved in the air. Immediately after, there was an explosion in the void and an abyss appeared. Upon closer inspection, it was not a real abyss but an expanse of light. Extreme yin is yang, extreme yang is yin. It is the same for light and darkness, Jiangchen said softly. He took a step forward and waved his fists, forming fist seals one after another. He did not make any unnecessary movements, nor did he use any forbidden arts or divine abilities. The simple fist seals mobilized all the blood energy and divine power in his body and punched out again and again. It was as if many kunpangs had leaped up from the North Sea and then turned into kunpangs spreading their wings and soaring into the sky. Boom! After several explosions, the black light began to distort. Jiang Chen's fist seals were like stars, reflecting in the black light. Several breaths later, the sky lit up. The black light was completely lit up, like a bright starry sky. You're a direct descendant of the chief god of light, right? Jiangchen raised his eyebrows. As he spoke, his hands shook and completely tore the black light apart. Immediately after, Jiangchen broke through and rushed to Su Nuobing in a flash. Light splitting! Su Nuobing's pretty face froze. Rays of light and shadow dispersed, making it impossible to see where her real body was. However, to Jiangchen, the doppelganger technique was simply child's play. He pushed his hand forward, and his divine power and blood energy slammed into the void like waves. Ripples spread out, and the surrounding lights and shadows were constantly being destroyed. In just 5 breaths' time, all the light and shadow dissipated, leaving only a slightly pale Su Nuobing. Chapter 750. At this moment, Su Nuobing's expression dimmed. They did not fight much in this battle at all. It could not even be considered a real exchange of blows, nor were there any violent collisions. But even so, Su Nuobing already understood that she was no match for Jiang Chen. His big and wide fist seals seemed to be unparalleled, able to sweep through everything, breaking all techniques with brute force. Su Nuobing sighed softly. I've lost. Lost? Is that all? Jiang Chen smiled wickedly and suddenly rushed to Su Nuobing's side. He shouted softly. Don't blame me. I'm sorry. You. What are you doing? Su Nuobing was shocked, but she saw an obscure rune brand condensing on Jiang Chen's fingertip, which then pressed into her glabella. A contract mark? Su Nuobing's face turned pale. She never dreamed that Jiang Chen would be so insidious. In Su Nuobing's eyes, this battle was just an ordinary contest. There would not be any life or death situations. Of course, she was right. There were no casualties in this battle, nor was it a battle of life and death, but a battle of slaves. Why are you doing this? At this moment, Su Nuobing was trembling all over. Cold sweat covered her forehead as she tried her best to dissolve the contract mark. However, once a contract mark was placed, it was very difficult to break it. Unless there was a Lord-level powerhouse who was willing to sacrifice half of their cultivation, only the caster could break it. You're a direct descendant of the Lord of Light, Jiang Chen explained with a smile. And you should also know about the enmity between me and the Lord of Light. That's between the two of you. Why are you involving me? Su Nuobing said in a low voice. Are you still a man? A man? Jiang Chen raised his eyebrows. A cold glint flashed in his eyes, and the corners of his mouth rose slightly. He said, Back then, when your patriarch joined forces with the 36 lords to besiege me, did you say that he was a man? Back then, when I was in the godless mainland, when the gods of the 9th heaven divine world issued a decree for their orthodoxies to come and kill me, were they men? Now all I did was sign a master-servant contract with you. I didn't hurt you at all. How am I not a man? Jiang Chen joked. Don't worry, I'll just keep you by my side. I won't do anything out of line to you. Why did you do that? Su Nuobing asked again. I'm about to ascend. Jiangchen said. After I ascend, you should know very well who I'm going to face. Those are all over gods who want to kill me. If I don't have any tricks up my sleeve, I'll probably be killed as soon as I ascend. What does that have to do with me? Su Nuobing asked. Is your appearance inversely proportional to your IQ? Jiangchen blinked and said calmly. Of course, I'm using you as a hostage. Hearing this, Su Nuobing almost exploded in anger. Taking me as a hostage? The ancestor is high and mighty. How could he stop for a descendant like me? Su Nuobing said. Release the contract and I will let bygones be bygones. Forget about the past? What qualifications do you have to let bygones be bygones? Jiangchen raised his eyebrows and asked. Can you beat me, or can your radiant race beat me? Beat the Xian race? Beat the desolate race? Or can you beat the old monk? Hearing this, Su Nuobing's face turned pale and she didn't know what to say. She thought for a long time and her heart turned cold. In this eternal city, who would dare to make a move against Jiangchen? Not to mention the Xian race and the desolate race behind Jiangchen, just Jiangchen's identity as the leader of the Everlasting Hall, not many people dared to make a move against him. Furthermore, the evil dominator thought highly of Jiangchen. You have so many enemies in the 9 heavens divine realm. What's the use of relying on me as a hostage? Use your ability to capture all the descendants of your enemies and use them as hostages. Su Nuobing was furious. Her beautiful eyes stared at Jiangchen and her heart was filled with resentment. Hearing this, Jiangchen's eyes suddenly flashed with a bright light. He clapped his hands and said, Why didn't I think of this idea before? At this moment, Jiangchen began to regret. Back then, there was a better hostage than Su Nuobing in front of him, but he didn't cherish it. That person was the pavilion master of the martial pavilion, Lin Lang Wentian. That was the descendant of the martial god of the 9 heavens divine realm. It seems that after going to the 9 heavens divine realm, I have to think of a way to capture a few more hostages. Otherwise, my days won't be easy. Jiangchen muttered. After saying that, Jiangchen waved his hand and said, Go back to your clan and prepare. In a few days, I will be going to the 9 heavens divine realm. You really don't want to terminate the contract. Su Nuobing's face was cold, and her heart was filled with killing intent. However, she understood that after establishing the master-servant contract, Jiangchen could take her life with just a thought. Do you have a feud with the master god of darkness? At this moment, Su Nuobing suddenly spoke with a strange expression. I know that a descendant of the master god of darkness is in Eternal City. Oh? Jiangchen was surprised. Then, he patted Su Nuobing's shoulder and said, You just became my servant, and already know how to work for your master? Not bad, not bad. Take your hand away. Su Nuobing exploded in anger and said snappily, My light clan and the dark clan are sworn enemies. Now that I'm in trouble, don't think that the dark clan will have an easy time. Then, do you know the descendants of the other masters? It's best if they are the direct descendants, the kind that is highly valued. Jiangchen asked with a smile. There are also the descendants of the Raging Flame Master God and the High Wind Master God. I know where they are. Su Nuobing didn't care anymore. Anyone who had a feud with the Light Clan would give up all of them. Just as she said, she was already in trouble. Then, those who had a feud with the Light Clan shouldn't think that they would have an easy time. Not bad, not bad. Jiangchen was all smiles and was very gratified. I'm so lucky to have a servant like you. As he spoke, Jiangchen patted Su Nuobing's shoulder again to show his encouragement. Take your hand away. Su Nuobing's hair stood on end. She had never been touched by a man in her life. One must know that Su Nuobing's robe exposed her shoulders. Jiangchen's hand had undoubtedly touched Su Nuobing's skin. This was skin-to-skin intimacy. Who cares? Jiangchen pursed his lips. Which of my disciples isn't better looking than you? Do you really think that I'm here to take advantage of you? As he spoke, a hint of disdain flashed across Jiangchen's eyes, but he still muttered subconsciously. So tender. What did you say? Su Nuobing's eyes reddened, and she was about to cry from anger. After taking advantage of her, he still disdained her. After that, he praised her. What exactly was he trying to do? Let's go. Bring me to them. Jiangqin changed the topic and rose into the air. His eyes shone brightly as he stretched his arms and legs, feeling emotional. After 3,000 years of reincarnation, I'm finally back. Chapter 751. The Taoist clan was the number one clan in the Eternal City. The first great saint was from the Taoist clan. For a long time, the Taoist clan controlled the Eternal City and gave orders to the world. However, compared to the past, the current Tao race had clearly declined. The first great saint was suppressed by the evil dominator, and was now imprisoned in the Everlasting Hall. The first great saint was not allowed to leave the Everlasting Hall unless it was a matter of life and death. Just like how the first great saint punished the evil dominator and sent him to the Everlasting Hall, the evil dominator was doing the same now. After the first great saint was sent to the Everlasting Hall, the Buddha clan was as quiet as before and did not interfere in anything. However, the Xiaoyao clan had completely risen. In the past, the Xiaoyao clan was only afraid of the first great saint. Now that the first great saint was punished, how could the Xiaoyao clan not do anything? Today, all the elders of the Xiaoyao clan were led by Marquis Xiaoyao to the Taoist clan's mountain gate. Taoist clan, hand over the military order of 10,000. From now on, the Eternal City will not be under your control. Marquis Xiaoyao was very direct. He did not waste any time and directly stated his purpose of coming. The Xiaoyao clan is too murderous and is not suitable to control the Eternal City. An elder of the Taoist clan walked out and sighed. Moreover, the current ruler of the Eternal City is the evil dominator. Without the evil dominator's interference, the Xiaoyao clan can naturally control the Eternal City. Marquis Xiaoyao raised his eyebrows. What? You don't want to hand it over? Do you want to force the Xiaoyao clan to act? Marquis Xiaoyao, although our great saint has been punished, our clan's foundation is still there. Don't be too presumptuous. The great elder of the Taoist clan walked out with a gloomy face. Buzz. In an instant, the space around him vibrated. Tao inscriptions appeared one after another, and the chi of Tao turned into 3 lotuses above his head. The great elder of the Taoist clan has lived for a long time. I don't know his name, but I know that he is very powerful and is ranked in the top 10 of all the experts in the Eternal City. Marquis Xiaoyao joked. Unfortunately, my strength is enough to be ranked in the top 3. One should know that Duke Xiaoyao was extremely powerful. Without the presence of the first saint of the Taoist tribe, he had the right to be arrogant. Moreover, the Tao race had indeed declined. Although the Carefree clan had suffered heavy losses in the previous turmoil, only a few of their top experts had died. As for the Tao race, a few of their top experts had died. Right now, other than the first elder of the Tao race, there were no other top-notch experts in the Tao race. Otherwise, no matter how bold and arrogant the Carefree clan was, they would not dare to behave so atrociously in the Tao clan. Amitabha. At that moment, an old monk came over on a lotus platform. Before the person arrived, a Buddhist chant was heard. However, before he could speak, Duke Xiaoyao glared at him and pointed into the distance. Trying to be a peacemaker again? Scram back to where you came from. Wan Ho, the evil dominator, is also from the Buddha. An elder of the Carefree clan reminded him in a low voice. Let's not offend the Buddha. Benefactor Wang Ho, where it is possible to make mistakes, one should be lenient. The old monk walked over slowly. His body flickered with Buddhist light, as if he was carrying a brilliant sun on his back. He slowly walked down from the lotus platform and bowed to Duke Xiaoyao. He advised, the creatures in the Eternal City should unite against a common enemy and resist the foreign land. There should be no internal strife. Is this internal strife? I'm taking back what belongs to the Xiaoyao clan, Marquis Xiaoyao said coldly. When these words were spoken, the expressions of the Tao race and the Buddha clan's old monk changed. Almost at the same time, a scene appeared in their minds. In that scene, there There was a stalwart man standing in the front line of the battlefield. He was invincible. Even the foreign land's ancient ancestor did not dare to fight against him and retreated to the foreign land. That person's figure was tall and straight. He pointed in the direction of the foreign land with one hand and dragged a precious seal with the other. He was like the only deity in the world. And this person was the Carefree clan's supreme ancestor. In that era, the Carefree clan controlled the Eternal City and was the true king. However, ever since the Carefree clan's supreme ancestor died in battle, the Carefree clan declined and fell to the third power in the Eternal City. The most difficult thing for the Carefree clan was that when the Carefree clan's supreme ancestor fought against the foreign land, not a single expert from the Dao race helped. It was precisely because of this that the Carefree clan had always hated the Dao race. The resentment accumulated for a long time. Now, the Carefree clan was naturally going to erupt. The Carefree clan's supreme ancestor might not have died. He just went missing, the Dao race's great elder said. A hint of guilt flashed past his eyes. That matter was known by everyone, but no one would say it out loud. This was especially true for the Dao race, who never mentioned it. It was because the Dao race was indeed in the wrong. Missing? Missing for over 10,000 years. If he is still alive, why didn't he come back? The Carefree clan's elder rebuked angrily. Back then, if the Dao race was willing to help, our supreme ancestor wouldn't have died. Duke Carefree's tone was even colder as he said, We are already being extremely benevolent by not settling the score with you. Now we are just asking you to hand over the military order of 10,000. Are you still unwilling? At this moment, the Dao race's people's faces were ugly and angry. The Dao race was not afraid of the Carefree clan, but they were wary of the evil dominator. How could the evil dominator not know that the Carefree clan was going to war today? How could he allow the Carefree clan to start a civil war? Up until now, the evil dominator had not appeared. This could only mean one thing. The evil dominator had acquiesced to the Carefree clan's actions. Yo, what a coincidence! Everyone is here! At this moment, Jiangchen flew over. Under Su Nuobing's lead, he came to suppress the descendants of the darkness, wind, and inferno sovereigns. Among them, one of the descendants of the wind sovereign was in the Dao race. And one of the descendants of the inferno sovereign was in the Carefree clan. As for the descendant of the darkness sovereign, he was imprisoned by the Buddha race, who wanted to convert him. Now that the people from these three forces were all together, this matter was much easier to handle. Everyone, please hand over the descendants of the Inferno Sovereign, Darkness, and Wind Sovereigns to me, Jiangchen said with a smile. Don't worry, I don't want much. I just want the most important ones. Can't you see the situation in front of you? At this moment, the group was a little confused. They stared blankly at Jiangchen, not knowing what this kid was thinking. The two forces were so powerful. It was obvious that they were in a stalemate. A war might even break out. At this time, a heavenly god like you came swaggering over to ask for people? Was this appropriate? Moreover, Jiangchen was alone. Did he think he could get people just because he said so? Did he really think that the three forces were just for show? Chapter 752. Only one person from the Buddha race had come, but the top experts of the Carefree race were all here. And this was an important place for the Dao race. At a glance, there were experts from the Dao race both inside and outside the mountain. In such a situation, Jiangchen actually asked for the hostage. Are you kidding me? Isn't this the all-transformation sacred body of the light race? Why is she with Jiangchen? Someone with sharp eyes saw Su Nuobing beside Jiangchen and was dumbfounded. Many people were also dumbfounded. Previously, Jiangchen did not want to get married and made all sorts of excuses. How did the two of them get together in the blink of an eye? Could it be that he was too shy, so he did not hold a wedding and carried it out secretly? Kid! Get out of my way! Duke Xiaoyao angrily rebuked. Can't you see that we are doing business? Duke Xiaoyao, watch your words! Jiang Chen's eyes narrowed, and he waved the Aeon token in his hand, saying, I am now the leader of the Aeon Hall. Don't use a chicken feather as an arrow. My carefree race is not afraid of your Aeon Hall. The elder of the carefree race said contemptuously, Although the Aeon token is strong, my carefree race is enough to deal with it. Upon hearing this, Jiang Chen chuckled. He knew that the unfettered clan was very strong. However, since Jiang Chen had come today, he could not go back empty-handed. I only want the hostage. As for how you fight later, it has nothing to do with me, Jiang Chen said. Now either you hand the hostage over or I will let the Xian race and the Desolate race come over, okay? After saying that, Jiang Chen thought for a moment, looked at Su Nuobing, and suddenly smiled, saying, Also, the Light race. What do you want? What do you want them for? The Dao race's great elder frowned. Why did he want the descendants of the overgods? Use them as hostages, Jiang Chen said bluntly. He was very honest, and then he smiled shyly, saying, I want to go to the ninth heaven divine world, so I need a few hostages. Otherwise I will panic. F***CK. Hostages. And it sounded so reasonable. Can't you at least hide it? Don't you want to cover up your embarrassment? Top quality. Everyone was speechless. If rolling their eyes could kill, they would have killed Jiang Chen 100 times over. Are you kidding me? The descendants of the overgods were placed in the care of the Dao clan and the Carefree clan. They received a lot of attention and were even treated much better than the disciples of the other clans. Those descendants were the basis of their friendship with the Inferno Sovereign and the Wind Gale Sovereign. Now, Jiang Chen actually said that he wanted to take those people away and use them as hostages. How could the Carefree tribe and the Dao tribe agree? In fact, the faces of the people from the two clans had darkened, and when they looked at Jiang Chen, their eyes were filled with hostility. Of course, there were also people who stared at Jiang Chen as if they were guarding against a thief, deeply afraid that this guy would cause trouble again. None of you are willing? Jiang Chen's face gradually turned ugly. He raised his head and roared, Xian Qing! Come here! The Eternal Fortress was huge, but with the cultivation of Xian Qing and the others, nothing could escape their senses. As Jiang Chen shouted Xian Qing, who was far away in the mountain gate of the Xian clan, immediately sensed it. Then, he called for Xian Jian, the Desolate God, and all the experts from the two clans. They tore through the void and descended in front of the mountain gate of the Dao clan in a few breaths' time. At the same time, Jiang Chen poked Su Nuobing's shoulder and joked, Call the people from the Light clan over. How can I call them? They won't move, Su Nuobing said snappily. Hearing this, Jiang Chen patted Su Nuobing's shoulder and reminded her, I'm your master. If I die, you won't be able to live either. They don't dare to kill you. Su Nuobing stared at Jiang Chen and patted the back of Jiang Chen's hand. She said in a low voice, Don't touch me. Jiang Chen smiled embarrassedly and touched the back of his hand. Then, his face darkened and he said coldly, They don't dare to kill me, but I dare to kill you. You! Su Nuobing trembled. She looked at Jiang Chen, who was covered in frost, and her heart couldn't help but tremble. Then, she took out a crystal and crushed it. Beams of holy light shot out from the direction of the Light tribe and rushed toward them at high speed. Jiang Chen! What do you mean? Marquis Xiaoyao was furious. Today, he had brought a group of experts to get the order of 10,000 troops. However, who would have thought that Jiang Chen would appear halfway? Now, the top forces in the Eternal Fortress were almost all here. Master, how is the conversion of the descendant of the Dark Master God going? If you can't convert him, why don't you hand him over to me? Jiang Chen was full of confidence. He walked up to the old monk of the Buddhist tribe and stroked his white beard. I have a good relationship with the evil dominator. Hearing this, the old monk agreed without hesitation. Almsgiver, the descendant of the Dark Master God, is difficult to convert. It's time for someone else to convert him. The old monk nodded. He asked Jiang Chen to wait here while he returned to the Buddhist tribe to get the descendant. Look, this is a master who understands the big picture, Jiangchen said with a smile. Then, he looked at Marquis Xiaoyao and said, If it weren't for me, the juniors of the Xiaoyao tribe would have been exterminated, right? How can I repay this kindness? Then, without waiting for Marquis Xiaoyao to speak, Jiangchen raised his eyebrows and said mockingly, The Xiaoyao tribe is born to be a king. Since you're a king, I don't think you owe me a favor, right? Our tribe has a good relationship with the Inferno Master God. How can we hand over his descendant to you as a hostage? Marquis Xiaoyao rebuked. Don't even think about it. Oh, I see. Jiangchen nodded and said to Xianqing and the others, I think the Xiaoyao tribe is here to cause trouble for the Taoist tribe. We uphold the justice of the heavens and earth, and will help the Taoist tribe today. Pfft. King. Are you threatening us? The people of the Carefree clan were so angry that they almost spat out blood. Marquis, our tribe no longer has any connection with the Inferno Master God. Why don't? That's right. Who knows what the relationship between the patriarch of our tribe and the Inferno Master God is like? The elders of the Carefree clan whispered to each other. Hearing this, the Carefree Marquis frowned. After thinking for a while, he said to an elder beside him, Go and bring the descendant of the Inferno Sovereign God here. Marquis Xiaoyao stared at Jiangchen unkindly. He said in a cold voice, Take him away. Don't interfere in today's matter. All right, Jiangchen said with a smile. However, Jiangchen said to Xianqing and the others, Marquis Xiaoyao and I have a good relationship. Today, I'll help the Xiaoyao tribe. Shut up. You want the descendant of the Lingfeng Master God? Here you go. For today's matter, you better stay as far away as you can. Just don't interfere. The great elder of the Dao race was so angry that his beard was about to reach his eyes. Chapter 753. It was just as the elders of the Carefree clan had said. They were only taking care of the descendants of the overgods out of friendship. People like them would stay in the Eternal City for the rest of their lives until they died in battle. It was impossible for them to go to the ninth heaven divine world to catch up with their old friends. Now, for the sake of the big picture, the three forces were threatened by Jiangchen and handed over the hostages. However, Jiangchen also promised them that he would not harm the hostages. In the end, with the help of Xianqing and the others, Jiangchen signed a master-servant contract with the descendants of the three overgods, Lingfeng, Darkness, and Raging Flame. Thank you, everyone, Jiangchen said with a smile. Don't worry, everyone. When my cultivation reaches the great success stage, I will definitely come back. At that time, I will lead you to unify the foreign realm. Get lost. Don't come back if you leave. What a disaster! Ever since you entered the Eternal City, have you ever been at peace? The commotion we caused was not as big as the waves you stirred up. The people of the forces had ugly expressions, especially the people of the Xiaoyao clan. They wanted nothing more than to swallow Jiangchen alive. Although Jiangchen had helped the Xiaoyao clan before, the Xiaoyao clan's character was like this. Everyone, let's part ways here. In the end, Jiangchen left and returned to the Xian clan with the hostages. He needed to make some preparations, such as increasing his cultivation and getting a few more portions of strange earth. Otherwise, if he was not strong enough, it would be difficult for him to survive in the ninth heaven divine world. Teacher, this is the strange earth and some rare treasures that I have collected for you during this period of time. 3 days later, Xianqing came to Jiangchen and gave him a few portions of strange earth. It was enough for Jiangchen to use for a while. She also brought many rare treasures, such as elixirs, divine weapons, and a broken piece of bronze. This is? Jiangchen stared at the bronze. It looked like a piece of junk. The surface was bumpy. Although there were some obscure lines, it was too incomplete. There wasn't even the slightest ripple of divine energy on this fragment. Not even a sliver of divine light flickered on it. Jiangchen's eyes were filled with doubt. This was a piece of scrap metal. Master, you left this behind when you were Tianqing. You specifically told me to give it to you when you returned. Xianqing smiled bitterly. This thing, to be honest, it looks like a piece of scrap metal to me. But master, you valued this thing very much. Oh? There's such a thing? Jiangchen was stunned. Was his vision that bad when he was heavenly green? No matter how he looked at it, this fragment looked like a piece of scrap metal, completely useless. Jiangchen tried to infuse his power of divinity into it, but the fragment did not react at all. In fact, with just a little bit of force, the rust on the fragment would fall off. Jiangchen didn't dare to use force, afraid that he would crush this broken thing. Let's put it away first. It might really be useful, Jiangchen muttered. Then, Jiangchen got up and prepared to leave Eternal City and enter the divine world of the Nine Heavens. In fact, Jiangchen should have gone to the divine world of the Nine Heavens after he obtained the thick earth divine formula. But he was delayed by some matters. Of course, the most important thing was that Jiangchen's cultivation was too low at that time. He had just become a god. Wouldn't he be courting death if he went to the divine world of the Nine Heavens with that little bit of cultivation? Jiangchen did not want to die prematurely after reincarnating. Master, there's something I have to remind you of, Qianqing said in a deep voice. You saw it when you came to Eternal City. There are quite a lot of overgods here, but they aren't that strong. If you didn't mention it, I wouldn't have noticed. Jiangchen narrowed his eyes. Now that he thought about it carefully, the overgods in Eternal City were indeed much weaker than those in the divine world of the Nine Heavens. For example, Xianqing was considered very strong in Eternal City. But in the divine world of the Nine Heavens, he might not even be in the top 300 among the overgods. Teacher, I know you've reincarnated and I'm afraid you'll be careless, Xianqing said. The overgods in Eternal City don't have overgod godheads, so their combat power can't be compared to those in the divine world of the Nine Heavens. Teacher, don't underestimate your overgod enemies in the divine world of the Nine Heavens because of this. Jiangchen's heart throbbed when he heard this. If not for Xianqing's reminder, Jiangchen would really think that all the overgods were the same. Why is it like this? Can one become an overgod without a godhead? Jiangchen asked. This is a problem of laws and rules. Xianqing sighed and said, The laws and rules of Eternal City are very special. It's easier to become an overgod here. But the price is that you can't condense a godhead, Xianqing explained. This is also why Eternal City can continuously produce overgods, but their combat power has always been neither high nor low, and they are even bullied by the foreign realm. Then according to what you said, if the overgods of the Nine Heavens come down, won't they be able to fight the overgods of the foreign realm? Jiangchen asked. Then why don't the overgods of the Nine Heavens come down? If Eternal City is breached, can the Nine Heavens divine world stay out of it? The Covenant. Xianqing frowned and looked puzzled. I don't know the exact content of the Covenant. I only know that the overgods of the Nine Heavens divine world can't easily interfere with the affairs of other worlds, especially Eternal City. At this point, Xianqing couldn't help but talk about Jiangchen when he was Tianqing. At that time, Jiangchen broke the covenant and forcibly came to Eternal City. This caused him to suffer a great Dao injury, and his combat power was greatly reduced. Great Dao injuries were difficult to heal. After a long time, Jiangchen couldn't withstand it and finally died on the battlefield. Who set the rules? Can they be changed? Jiangchen asked. They can't be changed, Qianqing said softly, but a glimmer of light flashed in his eyes. He pondered for a while and said with his divine sense, Maybe, if you surpass the cultivation of the person who set the covenant, you can change the rules. Otherwise, it'll be difficult. A covenant can even restrict the overgods and divine kings? Then wouldn't it become the great Tao and become the firmament? Jiangchen was shocked. He couldn't imagine how strong the person who set the covenant was. Did he surpass the shackles and limits of this world? And why did that person set the covenant? Wouldn't this alliance be harming the Eternal Citadel and the Six Realms? One day, I will change everything, Jiangchen said in a serious voice. In the end, Jiangchen left the Xian clan and came to the Buddha clan's mountain gate. After the old monk returned, he returned to the Buddha clan. Although he was called the Evil Lord, he was also a grand supreme ancestor of the Buddha clan. "You're leaving?" Just as he arrived at the Buddha clan's mountain gate, the old monk appeared. He seemed to have predicted that Jiangchen would come to find him. "Master, I'm leaving." Jiangchen blinked, as if he didn't want to part with him. He said, "Master, can you see me off? You should know the way to the ninth heaven god realm. It's an eternal city." The evil lord had a strange expression and said, "You want me to send you off? Don't you have legs?" "No, master. I mean, it's very dangerous for me to go." "Can you?" Jiangchen rubbed his hands, his eyes shining. Chapter 754. How many defensive treasures do you want? The evil dominator raised his eyebrows. "Xian Qing didn't prepare any for you." "He prepared some, but they aren't very powerful." Jiangchen smiled bitterly. Although the things Xian Qing gave him were useful, if he encountered an overgod-level powerhouse, they were basically waiting for death. "He also gave me this fragment, but I don't know what use it has." Jiangchen took out the fragment and asked, "Master, do you know what this is?" "Southern Wall?" At this moment, the evil dominator exclaimed and snatched the fragment from Jiangchen's hand. After studying it carefully, he returned it to Jiangchen. Then, he lowered his head and frowned, as if he was thinking about something very important. "Could it be, when you were Xian Qing, you really found the Southern Wall?" The evil dominator muttered. "Southern Wall?" Jiangchen was confused. "There's a saying that you won't turn back until you've hit the Southern Wall," the evil dominator said. "That's a secular saying, but there really is a Southern Wall in this world." Then, the evil dominator roughly explained about the Southern Wall. It was a very mysterious place, and it was said to be the gap in the boundary of the entire great world. There, no one could break through, and no beings from other great worlds could enter. However, if one wanted to leave this great world, the only way was at the Southern Wall. However, since ancient times, no one had ever found the Southern Wall, and even if they did, those people never came back. Perhaps they rushed out of the Southern Wall and went to other great worlds. Or perhaps they were dead. "If you don't turn back until you hit the Southern Wall, no one can break through that place." The evil dominator frowned, but then looked at the fragment in Jiangchen's hand and muttered, "But there really is a trace of the aura of a great world outside." There were many great worlds, not just the 6 worlds and the foreign lands, there were many other great worlds. Every great world had a boundary wall similar to the Southern Wall that separated the great worlds. Under normal circumstances, beings from the great worlds would never meet each other in their lives, and many people didn't even know there were other great worlds. Jiangchen knew some things about the other great worlds, but he didn't know the details. "I don't know much about the other great worlds," the evil dominator said. "But once the Southern Wall is broken, the various worlds will definitely meet each other. When that time comes, there will be friction, and even war will break out." "A battle at the level of a major world?" Jiangchen was shocked. How terrifying was that kind of battle? Once they were defeated, the entire great world would be destroyed. For example, the battle between us and the other side, when placed in the Great World War, is completely child's play. Evil Dominator said. Fortunately, the Southern Wall is mysterious, very difficult for people to find, and also very difficult to break through. At this point, the Evil Dominator's eyes couldn't help but reveal a trace of seriousness. The Southern Wall that protected the 6 realms and the other side, could it really not be broken through? If it really couldn't be broken, then what was the fragment in Jiang Chen's hand? Could it be that it wasn't Southern Wall fragment? Was it something else? If one day, a great world war really breaks out, will the 6 realms and the other side be able to hold it together? Jiang Chen asked. I'm not sure. No one knows how strong the outside world is. The Evil Dominator shook his head and said with a bitter smile, the 6 realms and the other side can't join hands. One side is destined to be destroyed. Jiang Chen nodded. The 6 realms and the other side were already irreconcilable. The other side had destroyed 5 of the 6 realms. This was a blood feud. In the future, there was bound to be a day when either the 6 realms were completely destroyed, or the other side was destroyed. Keep this thing well, it might not be the southern wall fragment, the evil dominator warned. Don't lose it. It might be related. I know, Jiang Chen said softly. Then, Jiang Chen licked his face and said with a smile, Master, look, with my cultivation, I don't need any weapons, only my own Tao-confirming artifact. The evil dominator frowned. For a moment, he couldn't think of anything to give Jiang Chen. This thing. I'll give it to you. A few breaths later, the evil dominator took out a wooden raft. It was the size of a palm, entirely green, and emitted a wisp of space power. The power of space! Jiang Chen cried out in surprise, staring at the wooden raft, and asked, In this world, there are creatures that can control the power of space. One has to know that the strongest powers of time were nothing more than a few, for example, time, space, primal chaos, and yin and yang. Among them, primal chaos was hard to control, and one would die upon contact. Yin and yang could be controlled, but it was also very difficult. Moreover, the power of yin and yang that normal people controlled was not the true yin and yang, but a mutated power of fire and ice. As for the power of time and space, according to what Jiang Chen knew, from ancient times until now, no one had ever controlled them. These 2 supreme powers, as long as one could control one, they would be invincible under the heavens. Right now, this wooden raft was clearly a treasure, and it was definitely refined. Then, to be able to refine a treasure with the power of space, that person must have controlled the power of space himself. I found this in a ruin, the evil dominator said. Perhaps there was a creature that truly controlled the power of space. This thing is really for me? Jiang Chen's eyes shone, and his saliva flowed out. This was a treasure. This wooden raft can temporarily open up space, and form a space tunnel, the evil dominator said. If you encounter danger, you can use this raft to escape. But the evil dominator also reminded Jiang Chen, using this wooden raft required a large amount of divine power, and with Jiang Chen's cultivation, he could only use it once in a short period of time. Moreover, after using it once, Jiang Chen would definitely collapse. This is a good thing to kill and rob. Jiang Chen was excited. He took the wooden raft, and then his expression became serious, and said, I'm wrong, this is a good thing to travel with. The waters of the 9th heaven divine world are very deep. Even if you were a divine king, you might not have seen the 9th heaven divine world clearly. The evil dominator reminded. This time, when you go back, you must be careful. Hearing this, Jiang Chen suddenly had a question in his heart. 5 of the 6 realms were destroyed. Why was the 9th heaven divine world still there? Go. The evil dominator did not want to say more, and disappeared on the spot after his words fell. At this moment, Jiang Chen calmed down, then looked at Su Nuobing and the rest, and said, Let's go! 9th heaven divine world! When will you let us go? The descendant of the High Wind Sovereign frowned. His name was Ling Jingyun, a direct descendant of the High Wind Sovereign, and the strongest person of this generation. It was said that the High Wind Sovereign valued him very much. From time to time, he would send down decrees, and even through some methods, he would give some treasures from the 9th heaven divine world for his cultivation. The day your old ancestor dies, that day I will let you go, Jiang Chen said coldly. This is between you and them. Why do you have to involve us? If you have the guts, go find my old ancestor. Ling Jingyun raised his eyebrows. What are you doing? Whether I have the guts or not, I only know that your old ancestor was part of the 36 overgods who joined forces to kill me. A cold light flashed in Jiang Chen's eyes, and he said, If you really have the guts, wait until I recover to my peak state, and let your old ancestor come and fight with me. I will give him half of his cultivation. Does he dare? Chapter 755. When Jiang Chen was Tianqin deity king, no one in the 9 heavens divine world did not know how strong he was. At that time, it was precisely because Jiangchen was too strong that the master gods were wary of him, so they ambushed and killed him. It was no exaggeration to say that Tianchen at his peak could kill a master god with half of his cultivation. This was the difference between a deity king and a master god. Even back then, Jiangchen was hailed as the strongest deity king in 30,000 years. Actually, I've long wanted to leave Eternal City, but I was born in Eternal City. I have a mission on my shoulders, and this is my fate. The son of the darkness master god, Teng Chuyun, sighed. When he looked at Jiangchen, there was no anger or resentment in his eyes, but more of calmness and relief. Just as he said, he was born in Eternal City, so he had no choice. From birth until now, he had never been to other places, so he did not know how beautiful the outside world was. Now, although he had become Jiangchen's servant, he could at least leave Eternal City and see the scenery outside. Even if it was as a servant, even if he would die outside, he was willing to do so. I don't care. The descendant of the raging flames master god, Huaqiantu, shrugged indifferently and said, Some people say that I have the most hope to surpass the ancestor, and I'm also the least like the ancestor. I can see that. Jiangchen nodded. Huaqiantu was very casual, and he did not care about anything. Even if he had become Jiangchen's servant, he did not care at all. Perhaps in his heart, everything was up to fate. Let me ask you something. Su Nuobing frowned, hesitated for a moment, and asked, If the ancestor apologizes to you one day, will you accept it? We'll see when the time comes. Jiangchen said softly. Apologize? Would it be useful? Maybe it would be useless, maybe it would be useful. The key was the attitude and thoughts of the person apologizing. It was still too early to talk about this, and Jiangchen did not want to think too much. After all, he could not even care about what was in front of him now. This time, he did not know whether he would live or die in 9 heavens. Let's go! 9 heavens divine world! A dozen breaths later, everyone arrived at the divine path and stepped into the transmission formation. A ray of light rushed into the heavens, the realm wall was opened, and a one-way transmission passage opened. The few of them were like shooting stars that flew in the opposite direction. They soared into the sky and finally broke through the realm wall, disappearing from the Eternal City. He has finally left. Standing outside the mountain gate, Duke Xiaoyao looked at the disappearing light and whispered, Will he come back? Actually, he's quite a nice person. Teacher, this trip will be dangerous. If possible, I'll wait for your return in the Eternal City. Xianqing's old eyes were a bit red. He thought about how he had been separated from Jiangchen for several eras. Now that they had met again, he didn't expect it to be such a short reunion. However, he firmly believed that one day, Jiangchen would return and lead the Xian race to the true peak. As for him, he only needed to wait in Eternal Fortress. Father, you've waited for several generations. Do you still care about this short moment? As long as we can persevere, teacher will come back one day, Xianjian said. On the other side, the desolate god stood in the clouds with a smile on his face. Boy, bring my desolate sword essence to the 9 heavens divine world. I want to let everyone know that although I haven't been to the divine world, my desolate sword essence is enough to look down on everyone. Bring my dream and belief, desolate everything, sweep everything, and build your own glory in the midst of desolation. This brat. He refused to marry Su Nuobing of our race and took her in as a servant. How infuriating! Sigh. What a sin! The people of the light race had mixed feelings. They didn't know whether it was right or wrong for Su Nuobing to follow Jiangchen. If the Sovereign of Light knew about this, what would happen? Southern Wall. Does it really exist? The evil dominator sat cross-legged in the mountain gate of the Buddha race. He looked up at the sky and whispered, If one day he comes back, will he still remember me? Everything in the Eternal Fortress seemed to have come to an end. For a long time in the future, everything in the Eternal Fortress had nothing to do with Jiangchen. Perhaps in the near future, Jiangchen would come here again. Elder, the sky has changed. Half a day later, 9 Heaven's Divine World, Qingzhou, on the square of the sky-reaching church, a disciple opened his eyes wide and looked at the sky. There was a crack like an abyss, and the surrounding sky was dark. He screamed and immediately alarmed all the elders of the sky-reaching church, and even the sect leader. Of course, there was only one sect leader, and all the so-called elders, in fact, there was only one, for a moment, the sect leader, an elder, and the only disciple of the sky-reaching church stood in the square and looked up at the crack. Shooting star! The middle-aged man in the lead focused his eyes and saw a few shooting stars flickering in the crack. He suddenly patted the disciple beside him and said seriously, "Quickly make a wish!" Sect leader, I think this shooting star is coming toward us." The only disciple of the sky-reaching church picked his nose and asked, "Sect leader, please be more careful. I can feel the power of this shooting star. It seems to be enough to break the sky-reaching church's protective array." "Yes, I have the same feeling." A sloppy old man beside him nodded and scratched his waist. He muttered, "I haven't bathed for a long time. My whole body is itchy. If it's broken, then it's broken." The sect leader curled his lips and looked indifferent. "The sooner we die, the sooner we can be reincarnated. Don't the three of us think so?" After saying that, he straightened his back and shouted, "If the shooting star can really make a wish, then give me a wife. I want one too." The sloppy old man beside him hurriedly followed and added, "She must be prettier than the sect leader's wife. My wish is the same as the sect leader and the elders." The only disciple of the sky-reaching church looked serious, and even raised his hand to swear. "I'm willing to use the sect leader and the elders' 10,000 years of lifespan in exchange for me being single." More than 10 breaths later, a series of explosions came from the sky-reaching church. The entire sky-reaching church's protective array was broken by a few shooting stars, and the entire mountain gate shook. At this moment, the master and disciples were standing in front of a deep pit in the square with dusty faces. They were pleasantly surprised. "The shooting star can really make a wish!" The only disciple of the sky-reaching church exclaimed, looking at the woman in the deep pit, his eyes shining. The sloppy old man beside him looked extremely serious, and said in a deep voice, "It's just a woman, how do we divide it? I'm the sect leader. Of course, it's mine." The sect leader raised his eyebrows. "This woman must be given to me by the heavens. The shooting star has a spirit, and it really gave me a wife." At this moment, in the deep pit, Jiangchen and the others were also dumbfounded. They never thought that the way they appeared would be so special. Moreover, as soon as they came to the 9th heaven divine realm, they met 3 weirdos. "You 3. Where is this place?" Jiangchen got up from the deep pit, patted the dust on his body, and jumped up and came to the square. Chapter 756. What's the use of a man? We only want a woman. The sect leader frowned and looked at Jiangchen with disdain. Could it be that the wish was wrong? Not only did you give a woman, but you also brought a few men to be my coolie? That makes sense. Absolutely possible. The disciples and elders at the side nodded, thinking that it was very possible. When Jiangchen heard this, his face immediately collapsed. He looked at the 3 people in front of him with a strange expression, pointed to the top of his head, and said, "When we fell just now, did you think we were meteors? And you even made a wish?" "Yes." "Isn't that so?" "I didn't ask." The 3 of them said very seriously. At this moment, not to mention Jiangchen, even Su Nuobing's face was black. What was going on? There was such a stupid thing in the 9th heaven divine world. "Please tell us, where is this place?" Jiangchen said seriously. "We just came to the 9th heaven divine world, so we are not familiar with it." "Oh? Could it be that it's not a meteor making a wish? Is it an ascender? Impossible. I'd bet with my life's chastity that it's definitely a meteor making a wish." For a moment, the 3 of them stared at each other, and actually quarreled in front of Jiangchen and the others. After a dozen breaths, Jiangchen could not bear it anymore. He stretched out his palm, intending to let them quiet down first and ask about the situation clearly. However, when he raised his palm, the three of them did not look at Jiangchen at all. When Jiangchen's palm landed on the only disciple of the sky-reaching school, this guy actually did not move at all. "What are you doing?" The disciple was stunned and looked at Jiangchen in confusion. He asked, "No need to be so enthusiastic, just greet and nod, don't hit my chest." "What?" Jiangchen's eyes narrowed, shocked. Although Jiangchen did not use his full strength, that palm just now was enough to suppress any cultivator below the profound God level. And the three people in front of him, their cultivation was only at the lower true God level. How could they block his palm? "Something's wrong." Jiangchen's eyelids drooped slightly. He cupped his hands and said, "The three of you, we are from the lower bound and have just ascended. We are not meteors." "Oh, you should have said so earlier." The sect leader was relieved, but he also looked disappointed. Especially when he looked at Su Nuobing, the disappointment in his eyes became even stronger. "So it's not the wife that the heavens have bestowed upon me, she's not my wife." "It's not mine." The three of them immediately became listless. They shrugged their shoulders, turned around, and walked into the main hall. They seemed to be thoroughly disappointed. "No. Wait." Jiangchen hurriedly stopped the three of them and asked, "Where is this place? Is it far from Yongzhou?" When Jiangchen came to the ninth heaven divine world, he had already thought about it. After entering the divine world, he would go to Yongzhou and find his eldest disciple. As long as he met up with his eldest disciple, Jiangchen would be safe. However, the nine heavens divine world was vast, and it was divided into 18 prefectures. The area of each prefecture was more vast than the entire godless continent. If he did not know where he was, Jiangchen would not know the direction at all. "This is the northern part of Qinzhou, the wasteland territory," the disciple said and waved his hand. "Since it's not bestowed by Lu Xing's wish, then you can leave." "A mere lower true god, what are you doing?" The descendant of the Lingyun master god, Ling Xingyun, raised his eyebrows and said disdainfully, "I am the descendant of the Lingyun master god. How am I doing it?" The disciple was dumbfounded. He turned to Ling Xingyun and said snappily, "It's you guys who are doing it, right? You broke the sect protecting array of my sky-reaching school, we haven't even settled the score with you, and you're actually talking about me? A few young people have just ascended, and their tempers are a bit rash." It's fine. The great elder waved his hand and said, let's go, we're used to peace and don't want to be disturbed by others. A few true gods dare to establish a sect in the ninth heaven divine world. How interesting. Ling Xinyan said mockingly, "The ninth heaven divine world is full of experts, and even Her Eminence doesn't dare to establish a sect. I say, what did our sky-reaching school do to you?" The disciple raised his eyebrows and said with a gloomy face, "Hurry up and leave, we won't ask you to compensate for the sect protecting array." "You want us to compensate? My ancestor is the Lingyun master god," Lingyun said arrogantly. However, as soon as he said that, the three people in front of him had strange expressions. The disciple especially curled his lips and said, I know, isn't it just the Lingyun master god? Wasn't he beaten up by the great elder back then? Oh, I remember now, the one who was beaten half to death by old Chai. That guy isn't strong." The sect leader looked as if he had suddenly realized something, then he looked at Ling Yun and said, "Your ancestor is the Lingyun master god? Then what's there to be arrogant about?" "Yeah, what's there to be arrogant about?" The disciple raised his eyebrows and said, "What's there to be arrogant about?" The great elder also had a look of contempt. At this moment, Ling Xingyun was dumbfounded and even angrier. Although he had become Jiang Chen's servant, he was still full of arrogance. "It's just a few true gods, just like ants in the ninth heaven divine realm. I'm going to be arrogant today, what can you do?" Ling Xingyun shouted angrily, the divine power in his body surging, and the aura of a supreme god erupted. In the next moment, he took a step forward, and his body swept out like a gust of wind. A fist print condensed like a green star, and it went straight for the only disciple of the sky-reaching school. "Hey, why are you so unreasonable?" The disciple frowned and said in a low voice. "Don't mess around, we're all very strong." Bang! As soon as he finished speaking, Ling Jingyun's fist landed on his body. This... The disciple was stunned and looked at the fist on his body in a daze. He tilted his head and asked, Are you really a supreme god? How is this possible?" Ling Jingyun was shocked, and his hair stood on end. He finally realized that something was wrong. He hurriedly retreated 1,000 meters away from the disciple. His expression was nervous, and his eyes were full of fear. "It can't be, right? Ling Jingyun is a supreme god, and his fist can't hurt that lesser true god at all. Oh my god! Is this an illusion?" Su Nuobing and the others were dumbfounded, and they looked at the disciple as if he was a monster. Even Jiang Chun was dumbfounded, and he stood there in a daze, unable to react for a long time. "You guys! You've gone too far!" At this moment, the sect leader of the sky-reaching school's face was completely gloomy, and he scolded angrily. "You destroyed my defensive formation, and not only did you not apologize, but you also injured my disciple." "Please! I didn't injure him." "This? Are you sure you injured him?" Jiang Chun and the others were speechless, but they did not dare to refute. After all, they were indeed in the wrong. "The three of you, this is my servant. Please forgive him for offending you," Jiang Chun hurriedly said. He could see that the three people in front of him were not ordinary, and he could not fight them head-on. Chapter 757. There were only 3 people in the entire sect, and all of them were lower true gods. This lineup was indeed a bit outrageous in the 9th heaven divine world. Although not all the creatures in the 9th heaven divine world were gods, the environment here was special. It was very easy to become a god, unlike the godless continent, where one had to go through hundreds of hardships and training to become a god. Therefore, in the divine world, lower true gods were really common. They could be described as everywhere. Under normal circumstances, only creatures who had reached the god level were qualified to establish a sect. Of course, that was only the qualification. More god-level cultivators were more willing to cultivate in a powerful sect. They would rather be a disciple or an elder than establish their own sect. After all, if their strength was too low, they could not protect the sect at all, and no one would join the sect. But the situation in front of them was a bit special. 3 people established a sect by themselves, and their cultivation was even lower, but this sect still existed and was not destroyed. There must be something special about it. "Kid, you seem to be quite sensible. Why don't you stay and be our servant?" the great elder praised. "Your talent is not bad. If you perform well, this old man can accept you as a disciple." When these words came out, Jiang Chen's whole person was in a mess. "Is there a mistake? I am the dignified Tianqin God King, and the reincarnation of several God Kings. What qualifications do you have to accept me as a disciple?" If it was not for the fact that his current state had not recovered to the peak, Jiang Chun would not put a mere sky-reaching church in his eyes. Of course, this was Jiang Chen's own idea. As for whether sky-reaching church was strong or not, it was really hard to say. At least, the 3 people in front of him looked very strong and strange. "It would be great if you could all stay here and work as servants." The headmaster sighed heavily. He didn't think Jiang Chun and the others would agree with him. And when he said this, his gaze was fixed on Su Nuobing. Leaving Jiang Chun and the others was fake, leaving Su Nuobing was the real thing. "Kid, you are the leader of these people. Do you have a way to make that woman stay? If you can stay, I will accept you as a disciple." All of a sudden, Jiang Chen's divine soul trembled. Someone was actually forcefully transmitting sound to him. It should be noted that the strength of the soul and soul of the person who forcibly transmitted the message must be several times greater than that of Jiangqin. What a bunch of monsters! Jiangqin exclaimed in his heart as he saw the sect leader winking at him. It had always been others who called Jiangqin a monster. Jiangqin had never called anyone a monster. But now, these three people were really too strange. Kid, this is Qinzhou. Where do you want to go? The great elder asked. As he spoke, his gaze landed on Su Nuobing. It couldn't be helped. Su Nuobing was indeed too beautiful. Yongzhou, Jiangqin answered honestly. Yongzhou? With your cultivation, it should take you over 300 years to get there from the desolate territory in the north of the Azure province. The great elder frowned. You just ascended, right? You don't know how big the ninth heaven divine world is. Even if you are a god, it will take you over 100 years to get to Yongzhou from here without using the teleportation formation. Of course, Jiangqin knew how far the distance between the two provinces was. At this moment, his heart turned cold. Let him fly for over 300 years. He estimated that it would not be long before those enemies found him. At that time, he would die prematurely. Senior, is there a teleportation formation in the sky-reaching school? Jiangqin asked. Yes, but it's broken. The sect leader shrugged with an indifferent expression. Anyway, we are not going out. It's broken. Can it be fixed? Jiangqin hurriedly asked. Of course. The sect leader nodded. His old face suddenly turned red and said, The materials to repair the teleportation formation are too expensive. My sect is embarrassed. At this moment, Jiangqin was dumbfounded. He knew that it was expensive to repair the teleportation formation, but for a sect, it was nothing at all. Even the worst sect could easily repair the teleportation formation. But now, this sect of 3 people could not even afford to repair a teleportation formation. Sect leader, let's not talk about such a shameful thing, okay? Not to mention repairing the teleportation formation, we can't even afford to repair this protective formation. The disciple's face was red as he whispered. So poor that it makes one's heart ache. Are there any other sects nearby? Jiangqin asked, speechless in his heart. Now, the only way was to go to other sects and borrow the teleportation formation. At most, he would pay a little teleportation fee. However, the sect leader told Jiangqin that this was the wasteland territory. There were no sects in this area at all. There was not even a shadow of a person. Jiangqin rolled his eyes. What was the sky-reaching school built in such a place with no people? Did they not accept disciples? The nearest sect is at the border of the wasteland territory. However, that is a group of petty people. They are the subsidiary sect of the Dark Master God. The great elder said. That place is very dark. If you go to borrow the teleportation formation, you will probably lose your life there before you can be teleported out. Subsidiary sect of the Dark Master God? It would be strange if I could go there. Jiangqin cursed silently. How could he walk into a trap? Then, thinking about it carefully, the only way now was to stay here temporarily and help the sky-reaching school repair the teleportation formation. Other than that, there was no other way. Stay here, and stay in the sky-reaching school for a while, Jiangqin said. As soon as these words came out, Su Nuobing was immediately enraged. She secretly transmitted her voice. Didn't you see the way they looked at me? It was a blatant lie. If I stay here, aren't you pushing me into the fire pit? They don't look like bad people, Jiangqin muttered. If the 3 people in front of them really had bad intentions, they would have done it long ago. There was no need to talk so much nonsense. If something happens to me, I won't let you off even if I die. Su Nuobing's eyes flashed with cold light. For her innocence was more important than her life. When sect leader Katsura Matsuda heard that Jiangqin and the others were staying, he immediately said, Today, I, Katsura Matsuda, officially announce that I have accepted this person as my personal disciple. Of course, he didn't break his promise and accepted Jiangqin as his personal disciple. However, he didn't ask Jiangqin whether he agreed or not. Fortunately, Jiangqin didn't object. He thought to himself, "As long as I leave here, no one will know that I used to have a master like you." "Announce what?" "There are only a few of us in the whole sect," the great elder said grumpily. He squinted his eyes and held his chin. "But with these people, there will be people to do the chores in the sect in the future." "That's great! Finally, we don't have to do those chores anymore." The disciple was very excited. Others didn't know how he had lived all these years. Every day, he cleaned the sect, took care of Katsura Matsuda and the great elder, and even cooked for them. Was this something a cultivator should do? Thinking of this, the disciple's eyes turned red. He felt so wrong. His heart was bitter. "I don't agree." However, at this moment, Ling Jingyun's face fell. He shouted angrily, "I am the descendant of the Lingyun Lord. Even if I join the sect of Tongtian, I should be a normal disciple. How can you make me a servant? Aren't you afraid that my ancestor will find out about this and settle the score with your sect of Tongtian?" Chapter 758. The moment Ling Jingyun said that, the three people from the sky-reaching school were stunned, as though they were surprised. Jiang Chun and the others were speechless as well. They covered their faces, thinking that Ling Jingyun was not only arrogant, but also a little retarded. "Didn't you hear that your old master was beaten up by old Chai? And now you dare to use Master God Ling Feng to threaten others? Aren't you courting death? From now on, you'll be in charge of cleaning the toilets of the sky-reaching school." Katsura Matsuda stared at Ling Jingyun with a gloomy face and said, "Stop talking nonsense! You're going too far!" Ling Jingyun shouted angrily. His aura burst out again, as though he was about to attack. "Hey, take it easy! Although our sect leader is lazy and has a good temper, no one can stop him when he's angry." At this moment, the disciple walked to Ling Jingyun's side and patted him on the shoulder. An invisible energy rippled out, spreading out like ripples in the air. In an instant, Ling Jingyun's face turned pale as the energy in his body was shaken clean. Even his divine soul and soul had been sealed. "This is a monster! This. At this moment, Jiangchun was moved, and his entire body trembled. With a light palm, he sealed Ling Jingyun. Wasn't the strength of this sky-reaching school disciple a little too terrifying? Ling Jingyun was a god, and this sky-reaching school disciple was only a lower true god. The difference in cultivation between the two could be said to be heaven and earth. "Ling Jingyun, take it easy if you don't want to die." Jiangchun frowned. He could not let Ling Jingyun die. If he kept him alive, he could still be a hostage. "Dishyong, go and make arrangements for them," the great elder said. Then, he turned around and planned to leave with the sect leader. But when they turned around, the two old things seemed to have thought of something. They paused for a moment, then said in unison, "This woman doesn't need to work. Men and women are equal." Jiang Chen's face darkened. He pointed at himself and said, "What about me? I'm the sect leader's disciple now, right? Do I have to work too?" "Junior brother, I was also working before you came." The only disciple of the sky-reaching school, Dishyong, comforted him. "It's okay. You'll get used to it." "Junior brother? Get used to it?" Jiang Chen's head was full of black lines. He had fallen into a trap. He wanted to resist, but the three of them were too strange. Jiang Chen roughly estimated that even if they joined forces, they wouldn't be able to defeat Dishyong, let alone Katsura Matsuda and Old Chai. "There are 3 people in one sect, and each one of them is a monster." Jiang Chen cursed silently. Half a day later, Bear had settled Jiang Chen and the others and arranged their accommodations. Jiang Chen was in charge of sweeping the floor once a day, which was quite relaxing. Ting Chuyun and Huqiantu were in charge of chopping firewood and cooking, so they were not tired. Because Su Nuobing had Katsura Matsuda and Old Chai's instructions, she didn't have to do anything. It was the most relaxed. As for Ling Jingyun, this guy was miserable. He was arranged to clean the toilet. In this regard, Jiang Chen didn't sympathize with Ling Jingyun. Instead, he was very puzzled. As a cultivator, he had already abstained from eating. Where did the urine and feces come from? Where did the toilet come from? These 3 pillars, why do they look so strange? The next day, Jiang Chun was ready to sweep the floor after cultivating the soul ascension demonic technique. When he came to the backyard of the sky reaching school, he saw 3 pillars in the backyard. One was very long, and the top couldn't be seen. It pierced straight into the sky. The other one was also constantly broken. It was almost squeezed into the sky. The last one was shorter, but it was still as tall as a mountain. The most important thing was that these 3 pillars were flowing with divine light, and there was vigorous blood energy surging on them. Walking closer, he took a closer look and found that these pillars were actually made of bones. On each bone, there was flesh and blood that was emitting divine light. This can't be a demonic sect, right? Jiang Chen's hair stood on end. These stone pillars were made with other people's bones and flesh. What was the meaning of this? Was it done by Katsura Matsuda and the other 2? If so, then would Jiang Chen and the others end up like this? Junior brother, you're here. The head asked you to go over and teach you a cultivation technique. At this moment, Dishyong walked over with a calm expression and said, Go quickly. I'll help you sweep the floor today. Dishyong, what's going on with these 3 pillars? Jiang Chen frowned. The divine power in his body surged. Once Dishyong made a move, he would make a move. These 3 pillars? The head will tell you. Dishyong was a little unhappy and said, How can you call my name? Call me senior brother. These 3 pillars, there's no problem, right? Jiang Chen's hair still stood on end. He always felt that this Tong Tian school was not simple. If there's a problem with these 3 pillars, the 3 of us will also be in trouble. Dishyong smiled bitterly. Then, he picked up the broom, no longer paying attention to Jiang Chen, and began to sweep the floor. Jiang Chen stared at Dishyong for a while, and his heart became more and more nervous. It can't be so miserable, right? I just returned to the 9th heaven divine world and entered a demonic sect. Jiang Chen thought and walked towards the direction of the main hall. After a dozen breaths, when Jiang Chen entered the main hall, Katsura Matsuda was already waiting there. Come, pay your respects to your master first. Katsura Matsuda fiddled with his shabby and dim robe, and then sat on the throne of the main hall very seriously. Jiang Chen was stunned in place and asked, Pay respects to your master? Don't you need to pay respects to your master? Katsura Matsuda was also dumbfounded, and asked, Don't you know how? How do I pay respects? Jiang Chen asked. My Tong Tian school's apprenticeship ceremony is very simple. Kneel down and kowtow to me 3 times. Katsura Matsuda laughed. There are no other fancy things. However, Jiang Chen was furious. Kneel? Kowtow. In this life, Jiang Chen did not worship the heavens or the earth, only his parents. Now that his parents were long gone, what else in this world was worthy of his worship? What kind of person was qualified to make him kneel down and kowtow? Can you change it to something else? Jiang Chen frowned and said, I don't kneel to the heavens, I don't kneel to the earth, I only kneel to my parents. A master is like a father, don't you understand this? Katsura Matsuda raised his eyebrows and said snappily, How many people want to be my disciple, but I didn't agree to it. You also saw that in the huge Tong Tian school, I only accepted Dishyong as my disciple. Now, such a rare opportunity is in front of you, and you actually don't know how to cherish it. Then can I not pay respects to you as my master? Jiang Chen said. Yesterday, I announced that I would accept you as my disciple. Do you think my words are child's play? Katsura Matsuda was a little unhappy. He pointed outside the hall and said, Do you know that even the master gods want to be my disciple? I don't care. Jiang Chen's temper also rose. To think that he was a divine king for several lifetimes, now he wanted to acknowledge a lower true god as his master. What kind of joke was this? No matter how strong he was, Jiang Chen was not willing. However, in the next moment, Katsura Matsuda waved his hand, and an invisible pressure erupted, directly pressing Jiangchen to the ground. Chapter 759. Plop! Accompanied by a muffled sound, Jiangchen's legs went soft, and he directly knelt on the ground. Following that invisible force once again erupted, pressing down on Jiangchen's head, pressing his head to the ground, and kowtowing 3 times. What a disobedient disciple! Katsura Matsuda smiled and said, "All right, the apprenticeship ceremony is considered complete. From now on, you will be my, Katsura Matsuda's, 6th disciple." After saying that, he ignored Jiangchen's murderous gaze and frowned in silence for a moment. Then, his eyes lit up and he said, "Master will bestow you a title. Dragon, Tiger, Snake, Bear, Ghost, from now on, you will be called Big Ghost. Your 5th senior brother is called Big Bear." "I won't kill you!" Jiangchen was furious. He was actually suppressed and forced to kneel. To him, this was simply a humiliation. "Big Ghost, you look very angry. Are you dissatisfied with your master?" Katsura Matsuda frowned. With a wave of his hand, he removed the power pressing down on Jiangchen's body. "This king will kill you!" Jiangchen roared. His body was like a kunpeng, his arms spread open, the divine power on his body surging. He rushed out, his aura like a rainbow. Bang! However, Katsura Matsuda only raised his hand and waved, and Jiangchen's body trembled, and he was even imprisoned in midair. "How is this possible?" Jiangchen was shocked. How could a mere lower true god have this kind of power? One had to know that Jiangchen was not an ordinary Empyrean god. Every realm of his was perfect, and he even had all sorts of great cultivation techniques and ultimate arts. His strength was strong enough to contend with a super profound god. But now, he was actually suppressed by a lower true god. He didn't even have the strength to resist. "Young man, what's wrong with becoming my disciple? Could it be that you're angry just because I asked you to kneel down and kowtow? Can't take it anymore?" Katsura Matsuda sighed. "You will experience many hardships and pain in your life. If you don't even have the courage to kneel, your life will seem a little bleak." "Bullshit!" Jiangchen angrily rebuked. "I, Jiangchen, have never worshipped anyone in my life. I am your master," Katsura Matsuda said seriously. "Looking at the entire 9th heaven divine world, there are countless people who want to be my disciple. Now that I've taken you in as my disciple, you're still not willing? That's someone else. It wasn't me." Jiangchen's eyes were bloodshot. His suppressed killing intent actually began to fluctuate. He seemed to be about to go berserk. He was going to become a great fiend again. "How about this? I'll give you a chance. If you can defeat Dishyong, then I'll kneel down and kowtow to you and acknowledge you as my master. How about it?" Katsura Matsuda frowned. It could be seen that Jiangchen was very stubborn and had extremely strong self-esteem. When Jiangchen heard this, he didn't even think about it and agreed. "That's what you said. If I defeat Dishyong, you kneel down and kowtow to me." "All right," Katsura Matsuda said with a smile. After that, Katsura Matsuda let go of Jiangchen and called over Dishyong, who was sweeping the floor. "Dishyong, this is your junior brother. He wants to spar with you," Katsura Matsuda said. When these words came out, Dishyong's eyes widened. He even touched Jiangchen's head and asked, "Junior brother, is your brain okay? Fight with me? Aren't you looking for a beating?" Jiangchen rolled his eyes and was speechless. "I can't defeat Katsura Matsuda, the sect leader, but I can't defeat you, the disciple. I'm the reincarnation of a divine king. I've cultivated every realm to perfection. My combat power is unparalleled in the same realm. If I can't even defeat you, how can I survive?" "Cut the crap! I've had enough of you," Jiangchen said coldly. He pointed at Dishyong's nose and said, "You're asking for a beating." Bang! However, just as he finished speaking, he saw Jiangchen fly out like a kite with a broken string. The divine power in his body dissipated. His chest caved in and blood flowed out of his 7 orifices. At this moment, Jiangchun was lying on the ground. His whole body was trembling, and he was completely stunned. What's going on? What just happened? Jiangchun didn't see clearly at all. He only felt a sharp pain in his chest, and then, there was no more then. Impossible! Jiangchen's heart palpitated. How sharp was his divine sense? How could a lower true god's attack escape his senses? Little junior brother, are you okay? Dishyun walked to Jiangchen's side and helped him up. He had a very awkward expression and said, I just broke through recently. My power was controlled. Did I hurt you? When Jiangchen heard this, he rolled his eyes and directly rolled them. Whether I was hurt or not, are you blind? He was lying on the ground. His whole body was trembling. After more than 10 breaths, Jiangchen finally recovered. He spat out a mouthful of blood and asked, You just broke through? Just became a god? No, I became a god 600 years ago, Dishyung said. What? You became a god 600 years ago? Then what do you mean by just broke through? Jiangchen was confused. He was a lower true god 600 years ago. He just broke through recently. How could he still be a lower true god? Do you think I'm stupid? Big Ghost, this is the cultivation technique of my sky-reaching school, Katsura Matsuda explained. Dishyun should have just broken through to the 376th level of the true god realm recently. 376th level? Jiangchen blinked his eyes, his face full of confusion. As everyone knew, every realm was divided into low, middle, and high levels. He had never heard of using heavy to divide it. Even if it was divided into levels one by one, there wouldn't be so many levels in a realm, right? This is considered a small matter. The Great Elder is already at the 1860th level of the True God realm. The sect leader is even more powerful. He is already at the 2999th level. Dishyun was very modest, and a trace of yearning appeared in his eyes. When can I break through to the 1000th level? At that time, I can go out and train, and see this beautiful world. Jiangchun was speechless. He had learned something new. True God realm could be cultivated like this. Then, what about the God realm? What about the profound God realm? Wouldn't they be able to cultivate that many levels? Big Ghost, you're thinking too much. The sky-reaching school's cultivation technique only has this kind of cultivation level at the true God realm. The realms after that are the same as normal. Katsura Matsuda seemed to have seen through Jiangchen's doubts and explained. How is it? Do you want to cultivate? Is it powerful? Jiangchen asked. However, after he asked this, Jiangchen regretted it. Was it powerful? Wasn't that nonsense? Given Jiangchen's combat strength, he actually didn't even have a chance to fight back against the Xiong and was directly beaten down. How could this not be powerful? Jiangchen couldn't imagine what kind of combat strength the Great Elder, Old Chai, and the sect leader, Katsura Matsuda, had right now. One was at the 1860th level, while the other was at the 2999th level. Old Chai can just about fight a lesser chief god now, I guess. He's usually too lazy and doesn't cultivate properly, Katsura Matsuda said. As for me, it's no exaggeration to say that even higher chief gods are trash in my eyes. Sect leader, please don't lie to little junior brother. Dishyung's face reddened, and he quietly whispered into Jiangchen's ear. Under normal circumstances, the sect leader is indeed very strong, but he's basically abnormal. Chapter 760. That's still very strong, Jiangchen said excitedly. So, do you still hate me now that you've acknowledged me as your master? Katsura Matsuda said teasingly. If you really don't agree, I'll just kneel and kowtow to you and refuse to accept you as my disciple. You're really going to kneel and kowtow to me? Jiangchen was dumbfounded. How could a powerhouse who could contend with an upper-ranked chief god be so casual about it? Where Where was his moral integrity? Don't you have any moral integrity today, sect master? Big Bear raised his eyebrows and said exasperatedly. You're the sect master, after all. Sigh, even if you don't care about your own reputation, shouldn't you think about me, your disciple? Master! At that moment, Jiangchen lunged over and grabbed Katsura Matsuda's sleeve. He licked his lips and said, Master, I've thought it through. Although a man has gold under his knees, he must know when to yield and when not to. Besides, a master is like a father. Sect master, the disciple you've accepted this time is just like you. He probably has no moral integrity from the moment he was born. Big Bear smiled wryly and said, What a family. There's no hurry. Although I've accepted you as my disciple, I still don't know if you'll be able to cultivate the sky-reaching church's techniques. Katsura Matsuda's expression turned serious, which was rare of him. He said, Follow me to the back of the palace and let me take a look. Look at what? Jiangchen asked. Take off your clothes. Look at everything. Big Bear had been through this before. He couldn't help but shudder when he recalled the time when he had acknowledged him as his master. It was practically cruel. Jiangchen didn't mind. What else was there to do between two men? However, when Jiangchen arrived at the back of the palace, he saw that Katsura Matsuda had actually taken off all his clothes. He was completely naked, and even the bird below him was fluttering in the wind. Cough, cough. Although we're both men, don't you think it's a little inappropriate for you to be so frank? Jiangchen had a strange expression on his face as he watched Katsura Matsuda walk toward him step by step. On top of that, there was a mysterious smile on his face. Hey! What are you trying to do? Don't tell me you have that kind of fetish. Jiangchen's hair stood on end. The cultivation technique of the sky-reaching church is very special. I can't sense it with my divine sense. Therefore, I can only see it and touch it with my own hands. Katsura Matsuda smiled bitterly and said, Don't worry, my previous disciples all went through the same thing. Nothing will happen to them. You still want to touch me? Jiangchen felt a chill run down his spine. Two grown men touching each other. This was not appropriate, right? However, Jiangchen could only endure when he thought of the cultivation method of the sky-reaching school. In the end, Jiangchen reluctantly took off his clothes and stood naked in front of Katsura Matsuda with a slightly red face. But at this moment, Jiangchen thought of something and asked hurriedly, That's not right. You're the one who's looking at me and touching me. Why did you take it all off? It has to be dust-free. Katsura Matsuda explained. This cultivation method is so troublesome. I can't do anything about it. Really? Jiangchen doubted. He felt that Katsura Matsuda was up to no good. Katsura Matsuda did not explain further. He stared at Jiangchen for a while, and his eyes flickered. Jiangchen's expression was serious. He knew that Katsura Matsuda was looking at his physique. This was related to whether he could cultivate the cultivation method of the sky-reaching church. However, after a dozen breaths, Jiangchen's face fell. It was because Katsura Matsuda stared at Jiangchen's lower body for a long time and muttered, F***ck, it's bigger than mine. Jiangchen's forehead darkened and he cursed. F***ck. You've been looking at it for so long, where the hell are you looking at? Cough, cough. I'm sorry, I was distracted. Katsura Matsuda's face turned red. He waved his hand and said, Let's start now. After saying that, without waiting for Jiangchen to speak, Katsura Matsuda's eyes shone brightly, and there were hexagram runes jumping. His pupils contracted, and there seemed to be a star rotating in the depths. Strands of starlight spread out from his eyes and sprinkled on Jiangchen's body. Wherever his gaze passed, it was all sparkling and bright starlight. Jiangchen stood in the same place, enveloped by the starlight, and did not feel uncomfortable at all. However, Katsura Matsuda's expression gradually became serious. After half an incense stick's time, the light in Katsura Matsuda's eyes disappeared, and he said seriously, You've cultivated the 9 deaths technique? You can tell. Jiangchen was stunned. You want to cultivate that kind of incomplete cultivation method? What kind of eyesight? Katsura Matsuda said solemnly. That traitor back then, he ran away after cultivating half of my heaven-reaching school, showing off that incomplete cultivation method everywhere. It's said that he even became famous, known as the 9 Deaths deity by the people of the world. Are you sure you're talking about the 9 Deaths deity? Jiangchen was dumbfounded. What was going on? The 9 Deaths deity, who was known as the strongest since ancient times, was a disciple of the heaven-reaching school. Jiangchen had heard of many legends, and also knew of many powerhouses. He had even seen many mighty divine kings in ancient books. However, among so many people, only the 9 Deaths deity was the most mysterious, and also rumored to be the strongest. When the 9 Deaths deity was alive, even the other side was suppressed until they could not breathe. Would those ancient ancestors dare to come out and make a sound? What kind of powerful existence was that? Looking at the past, present, and future, there was no one whose reputation could overshadow the 9 Deaths deity. But now, things seemed to be a bit wrong. That was when my ancestral master was still alive, Izichin said. Katsura Matsuda recalled. At that time, how powerful was my heaven-reaching school? Our disciples were spread all over the world. Among them, there was a youth who, according to seniority, should be of the snake generation. Dragon, tiger, snake, bear, ghost. 9 Deaths deity was the third disciple? Jiangchen asked. No, the second disciple was of the dragon generation, the third disciple was of the tiger generation, and so on. As for the eldest disciple, he was directly given the title of heaven-reaching school. Katsura Matsuda explained. Just like Big Bear, he was of the bear generation, but he was my 5th disciple. Oh. Jiangchen felt relieved. It was also during that era that an unforeseen event happened to the heaven-reaching school. The school fell into dire straits, and almost all of the disciples died in battle. Katsura Matsuda said in a heavy voice. At that time, only the 9 Deaths deity ran away, betraying the school. Cough, cough. What happened in the end? Jiangchen asked. At least he had a little conscience. After he became famous, he did something for the heaven-reaching school. Otherwise, the heaven-reaching school would have been gone long ago. Katsura Matsuda said with a wry smile. I really didn't expect that the reason the heaven-reaching school could survive until now was because of a traitor. What does this have to do with the 9 Deaths deity technique? Jiangchen was puzzled. The 9 Deaths deity technique is strong, but compared to the heaven-reaching school's cultivation technique, it is still a little weak. What's more, as far as I know, the 9 Deaths deity technique is still not perfect. Practicing it to the end may lead to an ominous event. Katsura Matsuda suddenly stared at Jiangchen and asked, You can only practice the heaven-reaching school's cultivation technique if you abolish the 9 Deaths deity technique. So, are you willing? As soon as these words came out, Jiangchen's whole body trembled, and his heart palpitated. Abolish cultivation technique? This was a big taboo. If it was light, he would be seriously injured. If it was heavy, he would die. Chapter 761. Jiangchen was a little hesitant. It was taboo to destroy one's own cultivation technique. Jiangchen made a rough estimation. With his current cultivation, if he destroyed the 9 Deaths technique, he would fall to the level of a demigod if he did not die. The damage was too great. Of course, this was under the condition that he did not die. If he died, Jiangchen would lose everything. Let me take a look, Katsura Matsuda said softly. He did not ask Jiangchen if he agreed. His eyes shone again. After a few breaths, Katsura Matsuda frowned and shook his head continuously. He seemed to have seen through Jiangchen's situation. It's too complicated, Katsura Matsuda said in a low voice. You have more than one cultivation technique. Each of them should be very strong, but they are too complicated. In a short period of time, you can use these cultivation techniques to increase your cultivation quickly. It will also bring you terrifying combat power. But what about in the future? It's too complicated. No matter how strong your foundation is, it will collapse one day. Jiangchen was dissatisfied when he heard that. The cultivation techniques he cultivated were all carefully selected. For example, the incomplete heavenly manual, thick earth divine manual, etc. For each realm, he cultivated the most suitable and strongest cultivation method. That was why Jiangchen's combat power was so strong. Now, this cultivation level was just too complicated in Katsura Matsuda's eyes. Do you mean you want to cripple them all? Jiangchen asked. Tell me which cultivation techniques you have cultivated first, Katsura Matsuda said. I can consider the specifics for you. Incomplete heavenly manual, thick earth divine manual, 9 deaths technique. Jiangchen told him the truth. He even told him the cultivation techniques he cultivated for each level. Katsura Matsuda's face grew uglier as he listened. When Jiangchen finished, he patted Jiangchen's shoulder and said, You are lucky to have met me. Otherwise, your future would have been ruined. What do you mean? Jiangchen panicked. Looking at Katsura Matsuda's ugly expression, he knew that there was a big problem with his cultivation. But where was the problem? At least, Jiangchen couldn't sense it. Right now, he felt very good about himself. His battle strength was very strong. In order to pursue perfection, you have cultivated many cultivation techniques. They are too impure, Katsura Matsuda explained. With so many martial arts mixed together, it seems very powerful, but it's actually a hidden danger. The attributes of the various cultivation techniques are different, and the way they circulate their power is different. The power of the Great Tao is also different. When these forces reach a critical point and collide with each other, it will be the time of your death. Perhaps you can't sense it now because your cultivation level is still low, and the power in your body isn't strong. However, once you become a sovereign, this will happen. By then, not even the immortals will be able to save you. Jiangchen's face was pale. He understood what Katsura Matsuda meant, and he also understood the stakes involved. At this moment, Jiangchen finally realized that he had neglected the most perfect thing in his pursuit of perfection. Jiangchen had cultivated many cultivation techniques, but those cultivation techniques were all in sections. For example, when he was at the True God realm, Jiangchen had cultivated a cultivation technique that was targeted at the True God realm. He didn't cultivate the original cultivation technique. Although his cultivation level was perfect, he only cultivated part of the cultivation technique. Only when the cultivation technique is perfect can it be considered perfect. Jiangchen sighed. So, the path I've been walking has been wrong all along. You can continue to cultivate the incomplete heavenly manual. This thing is very mysterious, so it's not a big problem. However, the prerequisite is that you have to find the complete incomplete heavenly manual in the future. Katsura Matsuda said. As for the other cultivation techniques, just destroy them all. All of them. Jiangchen's eyes narrowed. The thick earth divine manual was to support the incomplete heavenly manual, so it didn't need to be destroyed. However, if the other cultivation techniques were all destroyed, how much would Jiangchen's cultivation level drop? Other than the incomplete heavenly manual and the thick earth divine manual, all the other cultivation techniques will be destroyed. Katsura Matsuda said seriously. Including your Heaven Star. Heaven Star was the foundation of Jiangchen in this life. It was because of the existence of Heaven Star that the power in Jiangchen's body was endless and would never dry up. However, now, even Heaven Star was going to be destroyed. Then, what was Jiangchen left? Let me think about it, Jiangchen said in a low voice. This was a serious matter, so he had to think carefully. Don't worry, I'll protect you. At most, you'll be seriously injured and drop a few realms. Katsura Matsuda said. I've seen it just now. You can cultivate the sky-reaching church's cultivation technique. As for whether you do as I say or not, it's all up to you. I won't force you. Hearing this, Jiangchen couldn't help but fall silent. He knew that this was the biggest choice he had made after his reincarnation. If this choice was wrong, he would never be able to recover in the future. If he made the right choice, he would be like the Kuan of the northern underworld. With a leap, he would transform into a peng. Can you guarantee that I won't die? Jiang Chen asked. Yes. Can you guarantee my safety? Jiang Chen asked again. Yes. 2 questions too. Yes. Jiang Chen's eyes flashed, and he said, there should always be a few important decisions in life. What's more, you're right. If I continue to cultivate like this, I'll die sooner or later. Have you decided? Katsura Matsuda asked. I've decided. Jiang Chen nodded. Do you need to prepare anything? If not, we can start now. You're really impatient. Katsura Matsuda smiled and said, you don't need to prepare anything. As long as you think it's okay, we can start at any time. Then, let's start. At this moment, Jiang Chen didn't think too much. He sat cross-legged and circulated the divine power in his body to his limbs and bones, and even his spirit and soul. Boom! Boom! Accompanied by a series of explosions, Jiang Chen began to tremble. All kinds of cultivation techniques were collapsing. Above his head, runes constantly appeared and then disappeared. Those were the cultivation techniques that were being destroyed. In just a dozen breaths, Jiang Chen's cultivation fell to the lower level of a true god. However, at this moment, Jiang Chen had only abolished 6 of his methods. After destroying 6 cultivation techniques, you can still maintain your cultivation level at the lower level of a true god. What a fierce young man! Katsura Matsuda praised. He looked up at the sky and murmured, Old ancestor, this time I seem to have accepted an incredible disciple. Pooh! At this moment, Jiang Chen's face was as white as paper, and he spat out a mouthful of blood. His life aura was dropping rapidly. Suppress! Katsura Matsuda reacted quickly. With a palm strike, a pure energy rushed into Jiang Chen's body. This energy was like a layer of membrane, protecting Jiang Chen's meridians and stabilizing his soul. Even his life aura was slowly recovering. Why don't you take a break? Recuperate for a while before destroying other cultivation techniques, Katsura Matsuda said. You've cultivated too many cultivation techniques. You won't be able to destroy them all in a short time. No need. Just make sure I don't die, Jiang Chen said in a low voice. Sooner or later, I'll destroy them all. I'll deal with them all at once. Chapter 762. Jiang Chen threw caution to the wind and planned to finish it all in one go. Katsura Matsuda did not try to persuade him. He was very confident and strong enough to protect Jiang Chen's life. Of course, Jiang Chen's injuries would probably be very serious. Buzz! Buzz! A series of explosions continuously came from Jiang Chen's body. The runes above his head continued to condense and then collapse. That was the cultivation technique imprint. After half an incense stick's time, Jiang Chen was covered in blood and his body was covered in cracks. All his bones were broken and he lay on the ground like a pile of mud. He used his divine sense to form seals and constantly shattered the cultivation technique imprint. His soul was dim, his blood chi was exhausted, and his realm had fallen to demigod. I can't hold on any longer. Katsura Matsuda's expression was ugly. He did not expect Jiang Chen to be so ruthless to himself and destroy all his cultivation techniques in one go. However, he did not expect Jiang Chen to cultivate so many cultivation techniques. Katsura Matsuda was struggling. His blood chi and strength were injected into Jiang Chen's body to ensure that Jiang Chen did not die. But now, Jiang Chen's cultivation technique was not completely destroyed and Katsura Matsuda's strength was almost exhausted. I didn't even say that I couldn't hold on, but you arranged it first, Jiang Chen said snappily. Hold on a little longer, there are still 3 cultivation techniques. There are still 3. Katsura Matsuda's eyes widened and asked, Are you a grocery store owner? You've cultivated so many cultivation techniques? If I didn't cultivate so many cultivation techniques, I would have died long ago, Jiangchen said in a deep voice. After reincarnating, if Jiangchen had not cultivated so many cultivation techniques, he would have died on the godless continent. Destroy it! After more than 10 breaths, Jiangchen roared out. His eyes were red and the last cultivation technique imprint was shattered. At this moment, Jiangchen collapsed to the ground, panting heavily. Blood spurted out from his mouth and nose. His internal organs had long been shattered, and his bones were broken. His body was in a complete mess. Even his soul had dimmed, like a candle in the wind that could be extinguished at any moment. The most worrisome thing was his soul. It was dim and lightless, as if it had been extinguished. Even the immortal bird Tao spirit, which was undergoing the nirvana tribulation, began to show signs of trouble. Its cocoon-like barrier began to crack. What should we do next? After resting for a while, Jiangchen asked weakly. Let me rest first. Katsura Matsuda smiled bitterly. I'm even more tired than you. Tired my ass! I'm about to die. Jiangchen spat out a mouthful of blood. He blinked his eyes and said, Heal me first. I feel terrible lying on the ground like mud. Heavenly Star has also been destroyed. Half of my cultivation is gone. My injuries are too serious. If you want me to recover by myself, it will take at least 10 days to half a month. Katsura Matsuda opened his mouth wide. He stared at Jiangchen and asked, Are you sure you can recover by yourself in 10 days to half a month? Nonsense, Jiangchen said. I have a holy body. Your holy body is fake. Katsura Matsuda curled his lips. But, it seems to be a real holy body. But, I've never seen it before. I have a chaotic holy body. Jiangchen raised the corner of his mouth. He was very proud of himself. But then he added weakly, I haven't evolved into a chaotic holy body yet. Okay, I'll heal you first. Katsura Matsuda seemed to be really tired. He didn't even have the strength to speak. But he still stood up and injected the last of his strength into Jiangchen's body. Then he lay down on the side and kicked Jiangchen weakly. He said, You can recover by yourself. I'll sleep for a while. Jiangchen didn't say much. After struggling for a while, he got up and sat down cross-legged. He circulated the strength in his body and the power of the holy body to heal his injuries. Time passed slowly, until the next day. In the early morning, Jiangchen woke up subconsciously. His injuries were basically healed. He raised his hand subconsciously and was ready to cultivate the soul-raising demonic skill. But the next moment, Jiangchen realized that the soul-raising demonic skill shouldn't be able to be cultivated since all the cultivation methods were destroyed. However, when Jiangchen made a hand seal, he was shocked to find that the soul-raising demonic skill, which had been destroyed, was still there. The cultivation method imprint was still there. This cultivation method can't be destroyed? Once cultivated, it will accompany you for life? Jiangchen was shocked. This soul-raising demonic skill was too strange. You're awake? Come on, let's start cultivating. Katsura Matsuda had woken up a long time ago. He was now refreshed. He walked to Jiangchen's side. Without waiting for Jiangchen's reaction, he waved his hand and directly tore off Jiangchen's clothes. What are you doing? Taking it off again? Jiangchen exclaimed and subconsciously covered his private part. Let me explain to you why I wanted to look at your body before. Katsura Matsuda said angrily. Do you think I really like looking at a man like you? After saying that, Katsura Matsuda pointed his finger, and it landed on Jiangchen's neck. He said, I'm looking to see if you have a dragon vein. Dragon vein? Jiangchen was dumbfounded. The dragon vein could grow on a person's body? There are dragon veins hidden in the mountains and rivers. There are also dragon veins in the world, and there are also dragon veins hidden in every living being's body. Katsura Matsuda explained. However, under normal circumstances, there are no dragon veins in the body of a living being. Just like the sacred body, the probability of a dragon vein appearing in the body is very small. Then this one of mine. Does it count as having a dragon vein? Jiangqin touched his neck, but he didn't feel anything special. Your dragon vein hasn't been activated yet, Katsura Matsuda explained. I'll help you activate your dragon vein later. It'll be very quick, it won't hurt at all. As soon as these words were said, Jiangchen's entire body shivered. It doesn't hurt at all? Do you think I'm someone who's afraid of pain? Jiangchen's expression was strange as he stared at Katsura Matsuda and said, You emphasize that it doesn't hurt. What do you mean? Shouldn't it be very painful? No, it doesn't hurt at all, Katsura Matsuda said with a smile. Don't worry, I'm an old hand at activating the dragon vein. Really? Jiangchen was skeptical. He felt that this sect leader was not reliable. Come, turn around. Just a moment, Katsura Matsuda said. Jiangchen was obedient and obediently turned around. Just as he was about to ask how to activate the dragon vein, he felt a sharp pain coming from the back of his head. Immediately after, Jiangchen lost consciousness and fainted. After fainting, how can you feel pain? Katsura Matsuda joked. I told you, I'm an old hand at activating the dragon vein, it doesn't hurt. If Jiangchen heard these words, he would probably curse his mother. This is the method to not hurt. He directly knocked out. Master, his dragon vein. Something's wrong. At this moment, Dishyun walked in with a magical item in his hand and pressed it on Jiangchen's cervical vertebra. Is it wrong? Katsura Matsuda exclaimed and hurried over. After carefully observing, his face darkened. This is not the dragon vein. Katsura Matsuda felt weak in his heart. If Jiangchen knew that he did not have the dragon vein and that Katsura Matsuda had seen wrongly, Jiangchen would probably go berserk, right? In order to cultivate the cultivation technique of the sky-reaching school, Jiangchen had crippled half of his cultivation. Cough cough. Go and call old Chai over. He can see more accurately than me. Katsura Matsuda covered his eyes and muttered. Damn it, is it really not the dragon vein? This is bad, this is bad. You're tuning into the Phoenix Knights YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.